Mm-hmm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Geeky Geezers. Not just Geeky Geezers. It's going to be the Geeky Geezers tonight.
Is that like the difference between? Is that like the difference between Batman and the Batman?
Exactly.
Okay.
And this is my co-host, Pacelli. I'm a
Howdy.
What you sipping on?
I'm sipping on a diet grapefruit soda. You know, Sunday. It's a work night. You know, a squirt. Yeah.
Is that a diet squirt?
Okay. Yes, it is.
That was beautifully composed. Oh, that was Auditor Dread. Okay. Welcome, everybody, to the stream tonight. We're going to talk about some cool things. We're going to start out with something not as nice, though. But, of course, actually, there's some other not so nice things tonight.
You know what, though? Let's focus on the positive first, and then we'll get to the sad.
Let's talk to the chat first. You didn't ask me what I'm sipping on, by the way.
Oh, yeah. What are you sipping on?
I got myself a Minute Maid fruit punch.
Oh, okay.
It's got everything on it. I see an orange. I see a pineapple. I see a cherry and some other green things.
Does that mean that's actually in it, or is it just high fructose corn syrup with artificial flavoring?
It says made with real fruit syrup. So I want to look at the ingredients. I see pear, pineapple, high fructose corn syrup. Okay.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey, this is America, man. We love our high fructose corn syrup here in America. Okay.
Well, at least something's getting high. There we go. All righty.
The corn. Okay. Anyway, have a great stream. Yeah, well, unlike Sam Bankman's investors, but anyway. At least their funds. Never mind. I was loose. Hey. Have a great stream, geezers. Rest in peace, Christy McVie. Thank you for the music. Yeah. We'll be talking about that soon enough. Matanui, hi. Agent, get a hi, sweetie, from the net. Thank you.
Of course.
Good evening. What's depressed Affleck? Someone asked about poor Superman reviews again.
I don't know if it's really depressed. It's just I think it's a commentary. It's kind of an opinion that he seems to share with, I think, a lot of us, I think we'll find as we talk about it.
Godzilla's the only thing on there. Yeah, that didn't make it into headlines, but we are going to talk about that because it's in the. It must have missed the notes, but I added it back.
Did you like my reuse of the meme there, the shunning and the thumbs up one? I thought that was clever.
I liked it. Yes. In brightest day, in blackest night, no subjects shall escape through sight. Let those who ruin escapism and worship ideologues might beware their power.
There you go. Wow.
We ain't talking about the Indiana Jones trailer, though. I mean, that broke this week.
No, but we are talking about the Fleabag, so we might touch on it a little bit.
How about that Willow, the new Willow show, huh? It's a lot of scuttlebutt about that.
Let me put it this way. I heard a lot of negative things from enough people that I respect that I'm probably not going to be seeing it. And then I heard the initial first reaction to the first couple episodes from our sunny, happy, always positive Big Al of Big Al Presents. And I have even less faith now. If he's not enjoying the first few episodes, I'm done. I'm off. But, you know, I don't want to speak out of turn on Big Al's behalf. He's a very wise person who will watch the whole season before he does his official review. So let's wait until it's all dropped and see what he has to say about it. But nope, it's not looking good.
Let's see here. Rosefire, welcome to the stream. Let's see who else is here. Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Geeky Geezers, where the points don't matter.
Like a DEI. Yeah, exactly. In a cage fight.
All right.
Yep. I like that analogy too, Rosefire. That's a good one.
I don't have to crack open Hearthside infringement. I work tomorrow, so it's black tea and peanut butter bars for tonight.
Oh,
peanut butter bars are nice. I like those. Two excellent films. Speaking of Thief of Baghdad, that is an excellent movie. If you get the Criterion DVD or Blu-ray, there is a commentary by Martin Scorsese. And I know what you're thinking. Why is Martin Scorsese doing a commentary on the Thief of Baghdad? Because he apparently he was always enthralled by the fantasy movies as a kid. Of course, ironically, he goes on to direct the more real life biographical stuff as an adult, right? But it was the fantasy type movies that actually fascinated him. Lionheart. I don't know if I've seen Lionheart. I'll have to look for that.
Is that the one with Sean Connery?
Maybe. Probably one of those things that sits with Van Damme, but I could be getting mistaken. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Some bad decisions on the Willow show. Yeah, you know what I want to say? I liked Willow, but I know enough about Willow to know that it never had a huge following because it was only a single movie that kind of did so-so box office. I mean, it was a blockbuster when it came out. And now they're trying to resurrect it. If you want to resurrect Willow, you got to go in there with both guns blazing. You have to
I get the impression they went in with all guns blazing, but I think they had a different intent than you all seem to think they did.
But there isn't really a huge Willow fan base. It's a cult movie at best. And
there definitely won't be a fan base after this is over.
It's like we're going to be talking about this later about certain things that are more niche things that they're trying to turn into Marvel. And it's like you can't do it. But we'll get into that.
Wait a minute. Deleted scenes. I got blocked by John Cusack on Twitter. I consider it a badge of honor. John Cusack?
What did you do?
I'm more concerned. What did he do, John Cusack? I had no idea. I'm assuming he must have been saying stupid shit, and deleted scenes called him out on it. That's what usually gets people blocked on.
He has not been looking good these days. I mean, he's older, obviously, but
he's starting to look more like Joan, huh?
Let's move on, shall we? Okay. So I guess it's the good old days tonight. We got to talk about a certain subject.
Yep, I like having the opportunity to dedicate our good old days to some good memories before we have to get into our in remembrance. Yep. So let's talk a little bit about Christine McVie. The reason this one hits me so hard is because, and I think a lot of our fans already know this about me from when we've talked about music and music of the 70s, music of the 80s. I am a huge Fleetwood Mac fan. My favorite album of that era, well, depends on which day you ask me, but today I'm going to say it's Rumors. We'll talk a little bit more about Rumors in a little bit. In fact, I think just focusing on Rumors alone for a good old day, maybe in the new year, might be a good idea, Boomer. But let's start with Christine McVie herself. Christine McVie was born Christine Ann Perfect. Seriously, you can't make this stuff up. Her maiden name was Christine Perfect.
Okay.
Yep, she was born on the 12th of July, 1943 in the Lake District village of Booth, the daughter of a concert violinist and a faith healer. Her grandfather was an organist at Westminster Abbey. Although Christine was introduced to the piano when she was 4, she didn't study music seriously until about the age of 11, when she was reintroduced to it by Philip Fisher, a local musician and school friend of Christine's elder brother John. Continuing her classical training until age 15, Christine shifted her musical focus to rock and roll when her brother John came home with a Fats Domino songbook. Other early influences upon her included the Everly Brothers. Her first foray into the music field came when she met two friends, Stan Webb and Andy Sylvester, budding musicians in Britain's blues scene, who were in a band called The Sound of Blue. Makes sense. And they asked her to join. By the time she graduated college, Sound of Blue had split up, and because she didn't have enough money to launch herself into the art world, she moved to London and worked briefly at a department store as a department store window dresser. I know. In 1967, then known under her birth name, Christine Perfect, she learned that her ex-bandmates, Andy Silver and Stan Webb, were forming a blues band, Chicken Shack, and were looking for a pianist. She wrote them asking if she could join, and they accepted and invited her to play the keyboard and piano and sing backing vocals. Chicken Shack their debut release was It's Okay With Me, Baby, written by and featuring Christine. She stayed with Chicken Shack for 2 studio albums, during which her genuine feel for the blues became evident, not only in her Sonny Thompson-style piano playing, but also through her authentic bluesy voice. Chicken Shack had a hit with I'd Rather Go Blind, which featured Christine on lead vocals. She received a Melody Maker Award for female vocalist in 69 and 70. Christine had been a fan of Fleetwood Mac, and while touring with Chicken Shack, the 2 bands would often meet. They also were both signed to Blue Horizon, and Fleetwood Mac had asked her to play piano as a session musician for Peter Green's song on the band's second album, Mr. Wonderful. Encouraged to continue her career, Christine recorded her debut solo studio album, the self-titled Christine Perfect, which would be reissued following her success as a member of Fleetwood Mac under the name The Legendary Christine Perfect Album. Christine married John McVie and joined Fleetwood Mac in 1970. She had already contributed backing vocals and painted the cover for Kiln House that year. The band had just lost founding member Peter Green, and its members were nervous about touring without him. As mentioned before, Christine had been a huge fan of the Peter Green era Fleetwood Mac, and since she knew all the lyrics to their songs, she went along. Christine McVie went on to become an integral member, another lead vocalist, and keyboardist of the group. The first studio album with her as a full band member was Future Games in 1971. McVie agreed to move with the rest of Fleetwood Mac to the United States in 1974. Within a year, Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham of Buckingham Nicks joined the band, giving it an added dimension. The first studio album together, 1975's Fleetwood Mac, had several hit songs, with McVie's Over My Head and Say You Love Me, both reaching Billboard's top 20 singles chart. Over My Head put Fleetwood Mac on the American radio and into the national top 20. And real quick, I want to change up something on here. Yeah, I kind of lost track to where I was there. My apologies, everyone.
No, it's all right. I'm trying to put links too.
Thanks. Yeah, Over My Head and okay, yeah. Where was I? I'm sorry.
And Say You Love Me.
I was over my head. There we go. Okay. In 1976, Christine began an on-the-road affair with the band's lighting director, which inspired her to write You Make Lovin' Fun. That's pretty wild to know that when you listen. I love that song, and now I hear it and know that it's about an affair she was having. A top 10 hit on the landmark smash Rumors 1977, one of the best-selling albums of all time. Before I go any further, I do want to comment on that. One of the things that ironically makes Rumors so great was how everyone contributing to that album, all the members of Fleetwood Mac, were in an incredible time of turmoil. You know, she was cheating on her husband. Stevie Nicks and Lindsey Buckingham were breaking up. Even Mick Fleetwood was divorcing his wife at the time. And all the songs on that album, they're talking about themselves and each other. So there was a lot of like Stevie Nicks having to sing the background vocals on a song basically about her, you know?
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah. And like I said, I think we need to talk about that album more in the new year, and I'll get more into that kind of stuff. It's some pretty wild stuff, but it's some of the best music of the late 70s and early 80s, let me tell you. But let me bring it back to this. So Her biggest hit was Don't Stop, which reached the top 5. Rumors also included McVie's Songbird, a ballad played with just her on piano and Buckingham accompanying on guitar. By the end of the Rumors tour, the McVies were divorced, as I had alluded to. The 1979 double studio album Tusk produced 3 more U.S. top 20 hits, Tusk, Sarah, and Christine's Think About Me. The Tusk tour continued into 1980, after which the band took time apart. They reunited in 1981 to record the studio album Mirage in France. The album, released in 1982, returned the band to the top of the U.S. charts and continued the top 5 hit, and contained the top 5 hit "Hold Me," co-written by Christine. She said her inspiration for the song was her tortured relationship with Beach Boys drummer Dennis Wilson. Yeah.
Wow.
Her song "Love in Store" became a 3rd single from the album, peaking at number 22 in early '83. Recorded in 1984, her second solo studio album, Christine McVie, included the hits "Got a Hold on Me," that was number 10 U.S. pop, number 1 adult contemporary, and number 1 mainstream rock tracks, and "Love Will Show Us How," number 30 on the U.S. pop. Now, I know the Boomer's dropping the links for these. That last one, "Love Will Show Us How," a lot of people might not know that song. It wasn't that big a hit, but I gotta say the video is pretty awesome. It's silly. It seems to poke fun at the whole 80s idea of music videos depicting Christy clearly not caring about the video being filmed all around her disastrously as she focuses just on the song. Yeah. A 3rd single, "I'm the One," was released but did not chart. McVie was quoted in the Billboard Book of number 1 adult contemporary hits as saying of her solo album, "Maybe it isn't the most adventurous album in the world, but I wanted to be honest and please my own ears with it." Christine married keyboardist Eddie Quintella on the 18th of October 1986. Quintella went on to co-write many songs with her that were featured on subsequent Fleetwood Mac albums. She rejoined Fleetwood Mac to record the Tango in the Night studio album, which went on to become the band's biggest success since Rumors. The biggest hit from the album, which was top 5 in both the UK and the US, was McVie's Little Lies, co-written by Quintella. Another Christine McVie single from the album, Everywhere, reached number 4 in the UK, which would be the band's 3rd highest ever chart peak there, and their final top 40 UK hit to date. The single peaked at number 14 in the US. In the 1990s, the band, now without Lindsey Buckingham, recorded Behind the Mask, but the studio album only reached gold status in the U.S., and only Christine's song Save Me made the U.S. top 40. The album did enter the UK album chart at number 1 and reached platinum status there. The second U.S. single release from the album, McVie's Sky's the Limit, did not make the main U.S. charts, but was a hit on the adult contemporary chart. Upon the death of her father, Cyril Perfect, while she was touring for Behind the Mask, McVie decided to retire from touring. Despite the departure of Stevie Nicks, McVie remained with the band, writing and recording a new track, Love Shines, for the 1992 box set 25 Years, The Chain. The first song from the band's 1995 studio album, Time, after Fleetwood, John McVie and Buckingham got together for one of Buckingham's solo projects in the mid-1990s. She was asked to sing and play on some of the tracks. Then the four decided a full reunion was possible, and Nicks joined them. In 1997, the 1997 live album, The Dance, reached number 1 on the U.S. album charts. Despite her reservations, McVie complied with the band's touring schedule and then performed for the group's 1998 induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, as well as the Grammy Awards show and the Brit Awards in the UK. After the dance, Christine returned to England to be near her family and stayed out of public view. She divorced Quintella in 2003, the same year she released her third solo studio album, In the Meantime. In 2014, Christine rejoined Fleetwood Mac and began touring with them again. The collaborative studio album, Lindsey Buckingham, Christine McVie, was released on the 9th of June, 2017, and was preceded by the single In My World. There you go. That's Christine McVie.
So, yeah, so I guess you have a lot of history with this band. I mean, do you have any personal stories about it?
Not in so much as, I never saw them in concert, never met a single one of them, but I definitely loved their music in the late 70s and early 80s. Like I said, Rumor was one of my favorite albums. Just loved the songs, and it was over time that you would hear interviews and like then MTV and VH1 and so forth. You'd start getting some of that behind the music. Yeah, exactly. And you'd start hearing some of these stories and you'd be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. And, like I said, you hear some of these songs off of Rumors and you realize, wow, so-and-so is singing about so-and-so. Oh my gosh, it's almost like being a voyeur, It's like, man, kind of cool, kind of sad sometimes, but man, some of the best music. It really, really is. Boomers dropped all those links for you, folks. Please go check. If you've never listened to Fleetwood Mac, if you don't know who Christine McVie is, listen to some of these songs. I'll bet some of them you'll go, oh yeah, I've heard that song before.
Sure,
yeah,
sure.
Exactly. Yeah, gonna miss Christine McVie.
It's a lot of songs, and it's sad. I mean, I'm telling you every week goes by, you're almost horrified. Think we have nothing in remembrance, then something else drops. It's
yeah. This has been a week. Starting with that one. That one hit me hard. I even posted on Twitter today. I'm like, I'm writing another In Remembrance, and this is just beating me up. This is tough.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, what did you think of The Chain? Some of them recognize it from Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah, it's funny because and that's another one I want to talk a little bit more about sometime. Chain, I saw a behind the scenes on the making of that song, and it is a snapshot of how a collaborative work is done. Okay, I mean, it started with a piece of music that Lindsey Buckingham did that he wanted to use for something else. Some riffs that Christine put together. They went well together. Bits of other people's songs that hadn't been used, and it all just meshed together. It's some really, really great stuff. And even some commentary from the band members saying that, in that whole Rumors time when just about every other band would have been just driven apart by the divorce and the cheating on each other and all that kind of stuff, it was the music that was the chain that kept them together, you know? So I love to hear stuff like that. And, having, done some singing on stage and playing an instrument and so forth, I know what it is to perform, but I can't even fathom that kind of creativity. That's just a whole other level. That's legendary stuff.
I know, and especially even at such a young age, right?
Yeah. I mean, and then come to and. I realize how old I am, right? But it's almost like I grew up with her. And then I hear she died. And I'm like, she couldn't have died. She was 79. Okay, yeah, maybe that's getting up there. You kind of lose track of that. when you're getting older, I guess.
Because you don't see yourself necessarily as getting older, and then you realize, yeah, I'm getting older too, and it's it's not cool. But I guess I should read the article about her then. Now let's transition to that.
Okay. Now I'll start dropping the links.
Oh, okay. If you want to do that, sure. Okay.
I'm getting older too.
Yeah, I'm getting older too. Exactly right.
Christine McVie, the longtime co-lead vocalist, keyboardist, and songwriter Fleetwood Mac, died Wednesday, November 30th, at the age of 79. A cause of death was not available, but McVie's family said she died at a hospital following a short illness. The band confirmed McVie's death. I'm saying her name right?
Yeah, Christine McVie.
Yeah, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You were just saying her name 100 times, so I should know.
I know. That's okay. That's okay. You might have fallen asleep on me. I don't know.
Did not, but I was trying to make sure those links got posted too. The band confirmed McVie's death in a note shared on social media. There are no words to describe our sadness at the passing of Christine McVie. She was truly a one-of-a-kind, special and talented beyond measure. She was the best musician anyone could have in their band and the best friend anyone could have in their life. We were so lucky to have a life with her individually and together. We cherish Christina deeply and are thankful for the amazing memories we have. She will be so very missed. Yeah. In its statement, McVie's family said she was in the company of her family. Kindly ask that you respect the family's privacy at this extremely painful time. And we would like everyone to keep Christine in their hearts. Remember the life of an incredible human being and revered musician who was loved universally. Rest in peace, Christine McVie.
The only insight that I can give on that illness was, I mean, I know that part of the reason she stepped away from touring in the last couple years, she had been suffering with some back pain. There's some speculation it might have been scoliosis. That is not a terminal thing. But it certainly explains why she would have been unable to. She used to stand when she would perform, and she couldn't do that. And so that was part of the reason she stepped out of it. But beyond that, I don't know what that illness might have been.
What's your favorite Fleetwood Mac song? I think maybe you already mentioned it. I know you mentioned the album.
I love all the songs. You know, every single one that you drop there is you drop because they were ones that I love, and some of them didn't even realize that McVie had written them or co-written them. Right. But I'll be honest with you. I think some of my favorite Fleetwood Mac songs are probably the Stevie Nicks led songs. You know, like Sarah and Rhiannon, and and so forth. But anyway,
but I think I will.
Actually, I will say this though. Interestingly, those later songs that Christine did on her own after she was on a hiatus from Fleetwood Mac, her second solo album, actually had some of my favorite Christine McVie songs. Now, maybe that's because they hit me at just the right time in my formative years in the 80s, but yeah.
I'll say this, a lot of this talk we've been having lately makes me want to actually go back and re-examine and re-explore a lot of these 80s bands and albums.
Right.
Mainly because a lot of my, I'm more of a 90s guy, so I listen to more 90s bands. But I think I need to go back and explore the 80s a bit more in depth. I mean, I knew of the 80s because, of course, music was a big deal in the 80s. I mean, as it was in the 90s, but of course, MTV and everything else. But
yeah, exactly.
It's just it's sad. We're losing all of our great artists, and it's just awful. Yeah. But again, 79, right? But I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I wish her family well, and like I said, we just have to remember. And like I said, maybe at some point you'll do a Fleetwood Mac thing on your stream.
I absolutely will. I think I absolutely will. Real quick though, as long as we're rounding out the in remembrance, I'm just going to drop two more.
Yep, I have the stories too. I can read from them.
You can if you want to. I mean, I think we should just be brief on them because I don't know that the audience is going to be real into. For example, Twin Peaks actor Al Strobel, dead at 83. If you're a Twin Peaks fan, you remember him as the one-armed man, Mike. He's in the first season. He's the one who is trying desperately to warn Laura and trying to help her. You found out that he had some sort of a deal with some nasty evil spirits. He had a tattoo on his arm dedicated to one of the evil spirits, and when he went through a spiritual conversion, he removed the whole arm. That's the story behind the character. And in the lore of Twin Peaks, of course, that arm is the little man from another place who you often see in the memes dancing to jazz music.
Huh.
Yeah, very weird stuff. But now, I didn't meet Al Strobel personally. I did meet a lot of Twin Peaks actors, but all the interviews I saw with him and everyone that I talked to that knew him said he was a wonderful guy. So it's a real shame.
I remember him on the show, though. Remember when he recites that poem to Dale Cooper, right? And it ends with "Fire Walk."
Fire Walk with me, yeah. In fact, we had that line "Fire Walk with me" from a slip of paper, and it doesn't come together as a verse until he presents that piece of evidence.
Exactly.
Which of course I carried through the whole series, and then get to the end, and I'm like, I'm still not sure I understand that.
Oh, make another Twin Peaks series, Lynch. Come on, do it.
I know. We need a series 4, definitely. No doubt. And then, of course, Sesame Street veteran Bob McGrath, dead at 90. 90 years old. Come on. That's amazing. But, for you youngins, Sesame Street, I don't know if you grew up with Sesame Street or not. I sure did. I remember those early days of Sesame Street. And Bob and Susan were the two longest with the show from the beginning. And it's kind of a shame. He has said in interviews that his two favorite, I don't know if you'd call them episodes or not. One of them was his favorite projects that were Sesame Street related was Christmas Eve on Sesame Street. Guys, that's out there on the YouTubes. It's worth checking. I may even do a rewatch of that this year because it's really sweet. And there was the episode when Mr. Hooper died, and that was really hard on everybody because the actor had actually died, and they were kind of trying to deal with it in the show, kind of.
Yeah, that was a sad episode. I remember
it was incredible, and that one's out there on the YouTubes too. That you should really check it out. Very, very, and I remember Bob trying to explain to Big Bird, Mr. Hooper's not coming back. It's tough, and now I guess Bob's not coming back either. So, Godspeed, man.
Remember Bob on Sesame Street and loved his presence on the show. He has such a soothing, pleasant personality and sang every song cheerfully. Yeah?
He was, yes. In fact, his character on the show was, I think, a piano teacher. And he really was a very talented musician. And he had a wonderful voice. He really did. So, it's a shame. But man, 90 years old. I mean, God bless. I should make it that long. I don't know. I'm afraid I might. I don't know, man. Someone at the top of the show said, hopefully we have some good news, but I see that the next heading is Disney, so I can't imagine what good could come of that.
Okay, well,
maybe a little bit of Schadenfreude if it's not good news in and of itself, right?
Oh, I think this is one of these articles that goes on forever. I had to edit some of it out. Go ahead and paste it.
Well, see, this is why we drop the links. You guys can read the whole article. You're just going to get the highlights from Boomer here.
Yeah, I'll read the whole thing.
Oh, God.
Okay, I don't know.
Wake me up in a half hour.
Okay, well, see, this was a long one. I'll stop when I get tired. Okay. Disney's Strange World bombed at the box office over Thanksgiving, leaving the studio to mop up oceans, mountains, and terrains of red ink. The animated feature... It's funny, I know. The animated feature debuted dramatically behind expectations with $11.9 million from 4,174 North American theaters over the weekend and $18.6 million over the 5-day holiday frame. Before projections were revised downward, the movie was expected to earn $30 million and $40 million between Wednesday and Sunday, and even those figures would have been unspectacular to start. Inaugural ticket sales for Strange World now registers one of Disney's worst opening weekends in modern times, arriving ever so slightly ahead of its pandemic-era release West Side Story, $10.5 million, and significantly behind fellow family films like Encanto, $27.2 million over the traditional weekend and $40 million during the extended Thanksgiving holiday stretch. And Lightyear, $51 million. Normally, this time of year, a Disney family film is the big draw, says Paul
whoever he is. Some dingbat, yeah.
Paul Dergarabedian, a senior at ComScore analyst. It shows we're still recovering and adapting to the constraints of the pandemic.
Oh, effing bullcrap. Oh my God, that is the stupidest take I've ever heard. You know, we were talking about this behind the scenes last week, Boomer, and anyone who says that is just a ridiculous lying shill. They're delusional. Because look, we've had too many movies that have come out. Top Gun, anyone? That are just
Going Home, huge success.
Doing awesome, you know? And we're going to talk about another one in a little bit, but going back to the whole
didn't that Despicable Me prequel movie do very well too?
It did excellently, yeah. And so even during the pandemic, right? That Kong versus Godzilla. We'll be talking more about Godzilla in a little bit, but that movie did very well despite a day and date release. So don't give me this crap about pandemic bull crap. You know, when everyone's looking at this and going, gee, why did Strange World tank? It's a mystery, isn't it? No. Everybody who didn't go see it knows exactly why they didn't go see it, you dumbasses.
Oh, you want to talk about the elephant in the room. Anyway, maybe it wasn't his family.
You know what? I won't even get specific. Let's be very, very general about this. They said normally a Disney family-friendly release during a holiday season should do really well. Why didn't it? I'll tell you exactly why. Because Disney is no longer family-friendly, period. Families do not look to Disney and say, oh, that's a movie I should take my kids to. They look at Disney now, especially after Lightyear, and say, oh, there's a movie I should avoid taking my family to.
Chris Gore was talking about this. It's funny because he was saying that this movie he thought it was heavily advertised. He says he kept seeing the trailers before every movie he saw. He kept seeing the Strange World trailer. I didn't remember seeing anything, but then again, I'm mainly on the internet, so maybe it was on TV and stuff. Maybe it was being advertised more than I thought it was, but I don't know. Was there any buzz behind this movie?
Well, I'm the wrong person to ask because I don't really watch network television anymore. I only watch pretty much YouTube, stuff I have on physical media, and stuff that gets recommended to me that I go out and find on streaming. But I have heard secondhand that Disney did not put a lot of money into. So if Chris Gore is seeing it, he might be seeing it in those, trade areas that he, tends to be in, because I got the impression that Disney kind of knew this was going to tank and decided to cut their losses as much as possible. Yeah. I don't think this was not a big surprise to anybody. Anybody who claims to be surprised is either lying or stupid.
Okay, so this is a weak opening by Disney Animation Standards, says David A. Gross, who runs the movie consulting firm Franchise Entertainment Research. At a cost of about $180 million plus marketing expenses, this film will finish in red, even with good ancillary income. Remember when they screamed about Titanic costing $100 million, and it was going to break the studio? This thing costs $180 million.
I mean, one could argue there is for one thing, there's inflation. Number two, there is the ratcheting up of budgets. And I think the ratcheting up of budgets is at its peak. It can't go any further. These studios are learning that they're not getting the return on their investment that they used to. They need to start backing off. They also need to start putting out a better quality, and they also need to start putting out films that parents will actually take their kids to see. Disney, you dumbasses.
There was a wonderful interview with Chris Gore where he was handed a stuffed elephant and asked to discuss the elephant in the room. He movies geared towards children. I did see that interview. That's funny. No, he's great to watch. I've been watching a lot of his stuff on the stuff from Midnight's Edge this week. Like they were talking about the Willow show and everything else. And Al says snuck up on me, didn't hear about it.
Yeah, I mean, so if Big Al didn't hear about it,
do you think it's the title that Strange World sounds too much like Strange New Worlds and people gloss over?
I'll be honest with you. When I was doing research, on this movie, I can't tell you how many times I actually ended up looking up a Star Trek site when I meant to be looking up this movie. Yeah, that might have hurt it too.
There was little or no PR marketing. No one heard about this movie. Made little sense to release this close to Black Panther. It does seem odd that they released it. What 2 weeks? Was it like 2 weeks after Black Panther came out when they put this thing out? I mean, granted, this is an animated feature by Disney, but I would argue the Marvel movies were still sort of geared toward families as well, right?
I think
not the younger set, but it's just
the only supposition I could make that would explain it would be that, well, like you alluded, maybe Disney didn't see that much crossover between Strange World and Black Panther. I think also, if there's anybody with any intelligence at Disney, which is probably a huge, assumption, it's probably ridiculous, but let's just give them the benefit of the doubt for argument. If there's anyone with any intelligence over there, they probably knew that both of these movies were going to tank. And you may as well just get them out there, get it over with, move on to the next thing.
Overseas grosses may not provide much of a lifeline. Strange World was similarly jilted at the international box office with $9.2 million from 43 markets. Like most Hollywood films, it won't play in China or Russia, two major international markets due to
I wonder why.
Geopolitical tensions.
Oh, yeah, that's it.
Beyond that, Disney opted to not submit Strange World to several smaller markets, including the entire Middle East, Malaysia, and Indonesia.
I wonder why.
Because the movie features a gay character. Films with LGBTQ references have been regularly targeted by censors in those territories, and Disney wasn't willing to cut out the parts of the movie to comply with their guidelines.
Yep.
Okay, so
that's fine. They clearly have the agenda they want to get across. They're no longer in the business of making money.
Strange World continues a bleak streak for Disney's animated offerings, which have long been considered the gold standard. Yet the studio, which buckled tradition by putting Pixar movies like Soul and Luca directly on Disney Plus during the pandemic, hasn't been able to properly reacquaint those audiences with theatrical releases. Some analysts believe the studio may have inadvertently conditioned families to watch new movies on its popular streaming service. Think about it, though.
Uh-huh.
Do you think, maybe families, it makes more sense just to sit at home and watch the thing on Disney Plus than dragging the kids out to the theater and buying expensive snacks?
Look, yeah, there's that aspect of it. Yeah. There is a lot of reason to stay home. Okay, there is budget. There is, look, I'm already paying for this freaking Disney Plus. If a family is in fact paying for Disney Plus, I can make a tombstone pizza. I can pop some popcorn. We can get our own candy for a fraction of what it would cost to go out and get something to eat at the movie theater.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to cost us $10 per person, and watch this. These days we have surround sound, big screen TVs. It's just the same as being in the theater in that respect. And frankly, kids got to go pee. You hit pause. Now
I want a tombstone pizza. What are you doing to me?
I'll tell you what, you better than that, go with the DiGiorno with the rising crust. It's really, really good.
Yeah, I like the primo pepperoni. I guess they call that the hand toss now.
Yeah. Oh, and Skipper Kenner has just joined us. How you doing, Skipper Kenner? Good to see you, my friend.
Here. Welcome.
We were just talking about what a great movie Strange World is and how it's going to pull in all kinds of big box office.
You haven't even seen it yet. Why don't you watch it before judging it?
Don't need to.
Go to the theater. Maybe see it a few times at the theater. We need the money.
You know what? I can watch the Critical Drinker, find out whether a movie's worth seeing, and nope out. Because it saves me money that way.
How the Mighty Have Fallen. I remember as a child of the 90s going to see movies such films as Beauty and the Beast and Toy Story during the holiday season. I remember as a child of the 80s going to see movies like The Black Cauldron and Oliver and Company in the theaters, and they having tepid box office. I remember that when The Great Mouse Detective, I think, lost to one of the Land Before Time sequels, and the Disney animators are so demoralized. And I think we're there now.
Yeah,
I think these are very big, expensive productions, and I don't think they're pulling in the money like they used to. We're back to where we were before, in the documentary before Little Mermaid came out. That's where Disney.
But you know what? But never fear, Bob Iger's back to save them all.
Let me see. I've gone to never seen. See great films I haven't seen on my wall. I haven't gone to a movie theater since February 26th. And when I want to watch something good, I check my list. I am going to say this though.
Good point.
It was a nice experience going to see Maverick on the big screen, and it was actually. It's funny because one of the things that happens now in the theaters, like the actors who were in the film, they usually come out and thank you for actually coming out to see the movie in the theater. They thank the audience, and I think Tom Cruise came out and talked to Maverick. Go, thank you for coming to the theater, and and some guy says, I love him. He's a great guy. I love him too. Someone else in the audience says, like two people said that behind me, and it's like. It was a nice camaraderie with the audience, and you don't get that at home. So, and I like the fact, that at least someone over there, at least at Paramount, I noticed this with the Sonic the Hedgehog sequel too.
So Auditor Dread wants me to do the Critical Drinker impression. Nah, it'll be fine. But no, I'm not going to say go away now because I don't want you guys to go away. We're only we're less than halfway through this whole shindig.
Anyway, Maverick was good. But yeah, it's been kind of a tepid year for movies, and we're going to get back on this Thanksgiving weekend box office. But let's go ahead and go. Disney has some more plans. If you want to paste the next one.
Yeah, this one kind of worries me, but it's also outside of my wheelhouse, so I can't really speak to this too much.
Okay. Disney expands partnership with Japan's Kodansha to release more anime originals. At the start of a splashy Asia-Pacific content showcase held in Singapore Wednesday, the Walt Disney Company revealed that it is expanding its long-running partnership with Japanese publishing powerhouse Kodansha to co-produce a growing slate of anime originals for the Disney Plus streaming service. Now, this came as news to me because I wasn't aware they were partnered with any anime studios. They used to be partnered with Studio Ghibli. They used to release the stuff over here, and then they threw that away, and I guess Universal took that over. But
I honestly don't know.
The expanded collaboration will also include licensing exclusive anime titles based on manga produced by Kodansha, starting with Tokyo Revengers Christmas Showdown arc, which will launch exclusively on Disney Plus and Disney Plus Hotstar in January 2023. We are thrilled to deepen our strategic collaboration with our long-standing partner Kodansha on such an exciting genre, said Carol Choi, Disney's Executive Vice President of Original Content Strategy in APAC. Japanese animes fills in the white space in our content development plans, and we believe this expanded collaboration will be a game changer in Disney's future animation strategy in Japan. We look forward to bringing the anime titles and prized IP by Kodansha to the world stage. As with competitors like Netflix and Amazon Prime Video, Japanese anime, along with Korean drama content, has been a pillar of Disney's original content strategy as the company seeks to expand its subscriber reach across the growing Asia-Pacific region. According to consultancy Parrot Analytics, global demand for anime content grew 118% over the past 2 years, making it one of the fastest-growing content genres throughout the pandemic. The firm measures its demand metric by combining consumption data with social media activity, social video, independent research. Disney revealed in Singapore Wednesday that total hours of local produced Asian content streamed on Disney Plus is now 8 times more than it was just a year ago. Now, I'm kind of curious. Does this fall into... I think someone made a point like they're like in India, they're producing like specific Indian content for that region that we may never see over here, right?
I mean, I suppose that's true. I mean, that does make sense, right?
Yeah. I mean,
targeted marketing kind of thing.
I mean, I would think they'd want to put the stuff on what they have over here, though, right? Because if they're paying for the anime, they're going to bring it out over here. I don't know if it'll end up on Disney Plus or if it's going to end up on Hulu. Well, they have Hulu as well. Hulu has a lot of anime on it. But
look, at the risk of going off on Disney again, there is so much that Disney has in their quiver that they're just sitting on. All the 20th Century Fox stuff, so many things that people are clamoring for, and we're just not getting. So I don't know what to tell you about that. I don't know who's making those kinds of decisions.
This must be to widen their reach in the Asian market, but also anime is popular in other parts of the world too, so they can always make money off it here in the West and the United States and North Canada and other places, I guess. But I don't know. But apparently, Kodansha is globally known as the licensor of some of the world's most iconic manga IP, including such titles like Akira, Attack on Titan, Ghost in the Shell. Disney's partnerships with the firm stretches back to 1950, when Kodansha first published a manga art book with Mickey Mouse, Pluto Pup, Donald Duck, and 7 dwarfs in the Disney's Mango Ehan series. Okay, so apparently there was a Disney manga in Japan that we never got over here.
Okay, there you go.
That might have been interesting. Did you know there were Donald Duck comics in Germany that were way different than what we got over here?
I had heard that. Yes.
So, I don't know.
I don't know what to tell you. Deleted scene. Was it Deleted Scenes who said it?
What?
That Hulu could do really well without Disney stink on it, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, well, Disney stink destroys everything it touches. So
here's the thing: Hulu was 20th Century Fox's streaming service, and some argue that was one of the reasons why Iger wanted it to secure Hulu. But if that was the whole point, then why did they need Disney Plus if they already had Hulu? Because Hulu was already a known quantity in the streaming world. Like, if Disney Plus is struggling, it's kind of like how there was Warner Brothers used to have the DC streaming service you subscribe to, and you get like the Titans live action show on and the animated series, and you're like, why don't we just mix that in with HBO Max, make HBO Max?
I would say the same thing about Disney Animation Studios and Pixar. It's time for you to start consolidating, for crying out loud, because you're way overextended, Disney, and they don't need me to tell them that.
The reason why they were kept separate was that Disney Animation Studios used to make the more traditional hand-drawn animation, and sometimes the puppet animation too, like with stuff like James and the Giant Peach. And
sure,
the idea was the computer animated stuff that was Pixar's wheelhouse. Leave that with them, and we'll do the more traditional styles of animation with Disney Animation Studios. And then I think when Eisner thought they were going to lose Pixar, I think he started converting. I think, was that starting with Chicken Little, where they started doing 3D animation over at the computer animated animation. They got rid of. They were going to try and bring it back with The Princess and the Frog, but it did not do that well at the box office because it didn't do well against the Chipmunk sequel that was called The Squeakle.
I like Skipper Kenner says, Disney manga in Japan? Perhaps it was for the best that we weren't exposed. Yeah, maybe. Who knows what they were doing over there?
I don't know. I imagined like the 7 Dwarfs. It's like a Kurosawa samurai movie or something. Right? I don't know.
Damn, I would pay to see that.
Well,
that actually sounds pretty good. So a different pivot. It was one that you sent me that I forgot to put in.
I'm sorry. I have this image of them seeing the dead body of Snow White and them all committing a ritualistic, seppuku.
No. Better yet. They find her lying there, and Doc turns and looks at the others and goes, "She's dead. Let us prepare to ride and kill the wicked witch." And his lips don't match up with his words.
Oh, that would be funny.
Right?
If it's like a 47 Ronin thing. And
exactly. It's the 12 dwarves instead, Oh, I like that idea.
That would be a good movie. There's your Snow White remake.
Exactly. And then when they run across Prince Charming, they're like, you are on the same quest as we are. We shall join together in honor. Okay, now I want to see it with Klingons.
I don't know. I imagine. Well, that'd be funny. If that was the Klingon version of Snow White.
Oh yeah.
You know what? I gift that to you. You could write your Klingon version of Snow White.
I would love to do that. That would be pretty damn awesome.
I don't know. Like the princess never killed a man or something. Like he's wet behind the ears, and they have to treat him how to be a man, even though they're dwarves. And it's just I don't know. I'm sorry.
It's funny you say that because there was a PC game that was done called Star Trek Klingon. It was directed by Jonathan Frakes. It starred Robert O'Reilly as Gowron, and it's a first-person interactive game where you play somebody on the holodeck learning Klingon culture, and you are playing a young Klingon named Polk, who is coming of age, and during his coming of age ceremony, his father is assassinated. And because he was a friend of Gowron's, Gowron wants to join with you on the mission to go extract revenge for your father. You have to investigate, who it was that killed your father, and then, fight to the death. And along the way, of course, Gowron is the commentary person teaching you how to be a Klingon and so forth. And it sounds just like that. I could totally see where Prince Charming in the Puck role and the dwarves teaching him how to be a warrior. And then he reawakens the Snow White. And she marries him, and of course he's going to be coronated, and he calls upon the dwarves to be his honor guard.
Huh.
That's how I would write that story.
That would be kind of neat. Something to think about. All right, now we're moving on to the wonderful world of. Are we done with Disney?
Well, yeah, but like I said, I forgot to put this one on the notes, so I figured we should probably go to this one. This was the worst Thanksgiving weekend in box office history.
No, it's in the notes. It's just further down. But I can
is it? Like, I'm sorry. I thought I missed it. That's why I just.
No, you missed the Godzilla one or the legendary one, but we'll get to that.
Okay, well, if you want to do that one, I'll bring in the. I'll update my notes with the what are you
doing? What did you put in there? The Thanksgiving.
I just dropped the Thanksgiving.
We'll just do it now. Let me go to that article.
And I guess I was chomping at the bit to get to this one because of what we were talking about with the Strange Worlds, right? Where they pull this shit. Oh, we haven't gotten out of the pandemic. Blah 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 blah. Bullshit. Let's get into it.
Okay. This was the worst Thanksgiving weekend in box office history. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever is still number one, and Strange World tanked. But here's what's important: the 3-day Thanksgiving box office weekend came to $95 million. In 2013, this weekend's total was $181 million. In 2018, $216 million. For all of 2019, only 4 weekends fell short of $100 million. The last time a Thanksgiving weekend grossed under $100 million was never. Nearly 30 years ago. Thanksgiving 1994 saw a 3-day weekend of $94.5 million when ticket prices averaged $4.08. James Cameron's Avatar: The Way of Water opens December 16th. And as we've said too often, it can't come soon enough. But if we've learned one thing this year, an occasional massive hit will not salvage what continues to be a troubled theatrical marketplace. Dominant distributor Disney will take the crown by a narrower margin for 2022. The cause is helped by taking 2 top slots at this holiday, normally a major achievement, but the asterisk is accompanying this triumph is huge. Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, Disney amassed nearly half the weekend's take with $46 million. That's subpar for Thanksgiving weekend, as a number one many years saw 2 films gross over $40 million in 3 days. This is showing me something. They should have waited and released Wakanda Forever on Thanksgiving weekend. It would have upped the numbers.
It might have helped a little bit.
Maybe. It would have helped. Yeah. People, because let's be honest, people didn't want to go see it this Thanksgiving weekend because of the word of mouth, or the people that wanted to see it already saw it. But I think, I like the first Black Panther. The people that aren't know, they would have gone out to see that.
You're right, but then again, with a 5-day weekend, that word of mouth might have killed it 2 or 3 days into that 5-day weekend.
So maybe they needed. Okay.
See, yeah.
Theaters would have loved a wide release for Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. Netflix hasn't publicly released any grosses per their normal practice. Sources suggest they have whispered estimates of 9.2 million for 3 days, 13.3 million so far. It had a limited release in select theaters because, of course, it's a Netflix exclusive movie. But it was the sequel to the Knives Out movie a few years back. The Ryan Johnson directed Whodunit.
Yeah.
Crickets. Anyway,
yeah,
they're popular. Yeah. I'm not going to be seeing them myself because I didn't familiarize myself with that director's work before Last Jedi. I'm not going to be doing it now after seeing the Last
Jedi. I will never see a movie he works on ever.
But I can see how this movie could have done big box office because I think the last one was fairly popular. And what else is out? What I'm gathering from this is that no one took this weekend seriously.
Nope.
Theaters would have. Okay, so Netflix hasn't. Okay, so that's.
So I think what it comes down to for me is you could talk about pandemic and recession and blah 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 and whatever and global warming for all I care. What it really comes down to is what has been put out at the theaters that people would want to go to see. I mean, it really is. What is the big movie that you think people should be going to see and haven't gone to see? There isn't anything. Strange World, really?
No.
I have to laugh because I'm reading through the comments. I see Skipper Kenner talking about gifting out to his family Nakatomi Plaza advent calendars. And I'm like, they are still marketing for a movie from the 90s. You know, or was it the 80s? I forget. But whatever. You know? There is nothing coming out now that has that kind of goodwill and love that people are flocking to see it. And I got to tell you something. I want to see one of those Nakatomi advent calendars. I could see you open it up and you find a little chocolate in the shape of a machine gun. And you turn to your wife and you go, now I have a machine gun. Ho, ho, ho.
So here's where we are. Let's think of movies that could have been released. I don't know what's going on. Okay, we all know what's going on with Warner Brothers. As David Zaslav said, the people that were running Warner Brothers before he got there were idiots.
Yup.
And so that's probably why they didn't have anything slated for Thanksgiving weekend. You can release other movies besides.
I mean, you could almost
DC
give...
movies. It doesn't everything have to be superheroes. You can do other kinds of movies.
True, but we do tend to focus on those. And we could almost give them...
They're the big genre right now.
True.
In cinema.
And it's what they've been trying desperately to get kick-started over and over and over again. I just picture someone on an old rusted-out Harley jumping up and down and vroom, 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 and just not being able to get it going. But at least you could look at it and go, well, I kind of understand why they're kind of stalled between Flashpoint and, Aquabro. I mean, they've got their problems that they're still trying to work through before they decide what to do with them. So I almost could understand that. But yeah, at least you can say this about Warner Brothers. At least they realize they have a problem. And they're doing nothing rather than make it worse. Whereas you got Disney going, let's put out Strange World, and let's put out Black Panther without Black Panther in it.
They were expecting a Strange World to be like an Aladdin or like a Lion King or like a Toy Story, and that's not what happened. They're not making those kind of movies anymore that are these big hits. I mean, even Encanto, at least Encanto, I think was still well received if it wasn't as huge as those other ones. But I saw Knives Out. I gave it a chance because I like mysteries. It's a 2-hour movie with 50 minutes of story. The rest is eat the rich bullshit. That's what it looked like to me.
I don't know, man. You say something like that, and I think of The Cook, the Thief, His Wife, Her Lover, where they literally ate the rich guy.
But here's the thing, though. Think about what a studio could release right now or this weekend that could have ruled the box office if they didn't want to even release something huge. Like a decent comedy. Remember how you used to get decent comedies? Like we watched one the other week, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. So they could still make a decent R-rated comedy. That could have done Gonzo box office. They could have done... what do you call it? They could have done or even that mystery movie, like I said, the Knives Out movie. I didn't want to see it, but I think it could have done very well had it had a normal theatrical release. No one seemed to care about releasing anything this Thanksgiving weekend. Where's Universal Studios?
It's in Florida.
No, the studio, not the theme park, because that's all they seem to be focused on these days.
Oh, okay.
Universal, all they seem to do is either play it safe or they do these huge disasters like Cats.
Yeah.
Was there another Andrew Lloyd Webber musical they could have prepped? Of course, that would cost money. See, no one seems.
Oh, no! You don't want them doing that. If they're going to keep doing it the way they've been doing it, you don't want that happening. You know. I mean, what's the point in putting all that money into something that's going to definitely, absolutely bomb? You know?
I don't know, but why did nobody release anything over the Thanksgiving weekend? This doesn't make any sense. And Encanto doesn't count. That's a family feature. I don't understand what's going on.
Like I said, they don't have anything.
Avatar's the holiday movie. I get why that's being held off on.
Yeah. The fact is that they don't have anything in the pipeline but crap. That's really what it comes down to. I mean, you can't sugarcoat this. That really is the case.
I remember Warner Brothers. They released Harry Potter Thanksgiving weekend, or at least close to it. And then they saved Lord of the Rings Fellowship of the Ring and the other Lord of the Rings movies for Christmas time. So they didn't want to have those competing with each other, but they released them on those respective weekends. They should have had something this weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know. Okay.
But apparently they don't have anything. So what are they going to do? You know.
But what are they doing? They're movie studios.
They've been overtaken by the blue-haired land whales. I mean,
well, what about Paramount? If Paramount had something,
what do they got? Star Trek? That's never going to happen. No, they're too busy announcing Star Trek movies that are never going to friggin' happen.
They have Mission Impossible. That's a summer release. They already released Maverick. Oh, and Black Panther, that was Memorial Day weekend release, wasn't it? That's why they released it, and that was their Memorial Day weekend release, because that's a big movie release weekend, too. They could have had something over Thanksgiving. Everyone ignored Thanksgiving. This was an open slot, and you all ignored it. I don't understand it.
I think, Boomer, I'd like to do another one out of order. I think if we drop to the Ben Affleck one, I think that flows really well from this one.
Maybe Sony should have released something. This could have been Sony's week, like, I don't know.
Well, again, you got to remember they've got to already have it in the pipeline and ready to go before they can decide to release it. They should have saved Morbius.
I mean, you could release Morbius over Thanksgiving weekend. It would have been the big hit.
You could say all kinds of things that they could have, should have, would have done over the past 5 years. Because let's face it, what's coming out in the theater this weekend is dependent on the decisions that were made 5 years ago. Seriously. It takes a while to get these movies made, you know.
I'm telling you,
it's not like putting a stream together for a Friday and going, what are we going to talk about? I don't know. I'll figure it out on Thursday. You know, no, you got to have these things planned out years in advance.
Yeah, but I'm saying, you know, Morbius could have been a contender as Thanksgiving, you know.
It's Morbin time.
Anyway,
what would Ben Affleck have to say about that, though?
I watched Samaritan on Amazon this weekend, so I didn't go to the theaters. I stayed home and watched it. And it wasn't bad. It had Stallone in it.
Yep.
Not bad. Everyone's ragging on it. I thought it was all right. I thought it was a halfway best superhero movie released this year. I'll say that.
There you go.
Well, I haven't seen Black Adam yet, but I don't know. Ben Affleck says Netflix output is like assembly line. How do you make 50 great movies? How is that possible? With the launch of Artist Equity, his new studio with Matt Damon and Red Bird Capital Partners, Ben Affleck is hoping to create a production model that stands on the opposite end of Netflix's onslaught of content. Affleck attended New York Times DealBook Summit on November 30th and said Netflix operates similar to an assembly line in how it produces such a massive output. That's what you posted, right? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, and he's not wrong. I mean, if you think about it, you look at a lot of these streaming stories, and it's just cut and paste. They swap out who the strong independent female is. what girl she's dating, and what white male they're going to pick on. And they put it out.
Anyway, if you ask Netflix co-CEO and chairman Reed Hastings, he'd say, hey, we went for quantity to establish a footprint, Netflix said. I'm sure there's wisdom in that, and I'm sure they had a great strategy, but I would have said, how are we going to make 50 great movies? How is it possible? There's no committee big enough. There aren't enough. You just can't do it. Affleck added that making movies is a thing that requires attention and dedication and work, and it resists the sort of assembly line process that Netflix has made its standard, he added. So there's a bigger chance for action movies. There's a bigger audience for action movies than there is for small dramas. I get that, Netflix said. Certainly, certain genres play more broadly, and you can't not be mindful of that. But let's do a good one. All right. Hold on. Sorry. I'm screwing up.
No, I get a kick out of Skipper Kenner saying streaming stories are the multi-genre version of Hallmark Christmas movies. Now, be careful. You might upset Big Al with that. But come on, we got to admit that's kind of true. I mean, there's a lot of really good Hallmark holiday specials, but there are no really great ones. I mean, you'd be hard-pressed to say, oh, yes, this one is a classic that I'm going to watch every year.
Listen, the Casablanca of Hallmark Christmas movies will happen at some point. Casablanca was a movie. Back in the old days of studios, a lot of movies were made kind of in this assembly line process, too, where they were shooting them out all the time, and Casablanca spawned from that, the classic,
I would almost argue, though, that at least those cookie-cutter films had quality directors and writers behind them, who were putting out great work because, I mean, they knew what they were doing, right? They didn't just go, oh, and maybe he gets the dog instead of the girl, Hey, William Jackson, welcome.
Okay, so but basically saying is certain genres play more broadly, and you can't not be mindful of that. But let's do a good one. Let's surprise the audience. Let's make them care about it. So even if you're making an action movie, make it good. I understand. If you're making a superhero movie, make it good. I don't care what genre the movie is. I just care if it's a good movie.
That's exactly right. I mean, again, I did not see this Joker movie, but I heard a lot of people who aren't even really into superhero, comic book movies say, yeah, this was a really good one. Now, from what I heard about it, I'm like, well, I've already seen Taxi Driver. I've also seen the
King of
Comedy. So I don't really need to see the Joker too. But, I get it. Look, you look at the first Superman movie. There's some schlocky comic book stuff in there. But there's also some really good heart stuff in there, too.
Yeah, the schlocky stuff was with Miss Tessmacher and the guy wanting to give her the mouth-to-mouth, the military guy. It's like, that's a very 70s era joke to do.
Yeah, that was...
We got a Smokey in the bed.
What do you think, sir? Well, I recommend mouth-to-mouth and vigorous chest massage. Yes, sir. No. I would not have my men doing something that I would not be prepared to do myself.
I remember that, yeah.
Everyone, gather around. About face!
Yes, it's just... Okay, they got zanier as they went along too.
That was the problem.
Superman 3 went way off.
The first two movies had just the right amount of humor in them.
And then Superman 3 kind of goes.
And then they just kind of focused in on Richard Pryor, and it was like, okay, forget it. And then they went so cheap on Superman 4, it was just, crap,
I mean, I know I've said this probably a bunch of times, but if you ever have the DVD of Superman 4, listen to the audio commentary and just...
I can imagine.
Hear the sad story that the screenwriter tells about the making of that movie. It's fascinating. Yeah. At Artist Equity, though, Affleck will serve as CEO with David. Okay, so good luck to them. Just make good movies.
It sounds like that's exactly the plan, and I'm telling you, the market is just ripe for that. I think if someone actually does that, it'll be huge. It really will.
Superman 4 is originally going to Brainiac at the villain. I heard that about 3 as well. And instead we get Nuclear Man in Superman 4, which was this...
Yeah, so actually it was Superman 3 that was supposed to be Brainiac, and if you want to kind of get some insight to some of what they had planned for that, check out DC Comics did a Superman 78, I think it was, that kind of tells that story. The story is that Gene Hackman's Lex Luthor gets out of prison on parole, and he picks up a message from outer space, and it's Brainiac, and it becomes that classic. Luthor teams up with Brainiac against Superman, but then turns on Brainiac because he's like, "No, wait a minute, Earth is where I live."
Yeah,
you
exactly. Know? I'm sorry. I love Gene Hackman as Lex Luthor. I mean, those are actually the best part of Superman 4 when you get to see them interacting with each other again.
Rosefire, you would, if you could find like even a trade paperback that compiles the 6 issues, definitely. I think it was 6. I don't think it was 12. I'm pretty sure it was 6 issues. Check it out. It's definitely worth it.
I had heard Donner had been involved in a comic book that came out around the same time as Superman Returns, and it would have been, I think, his idea for another Superman movie. And it involved another child coming from Krypton. It wasn't like Superman had a son. It was just another child from Krypton. It was in the mainline story of Superman at the time, and it was actually, yes, it was another child from Krypton, but as it turns out, it was Zod and Ursa's son. Oh, interesting.
And he was conceived in the neutral zone, and there's like a whole story behind that. And it becomes very, very interesting. And he becomes like an adoptive son, and it's kind of weird and kind of cool, and I could have seen it really actually going somewhere. And the original story for Superman 4 was supposed to be, it wasn't supposed to be this nuclear man stupidity. It was supposed to be Bizarro. And they actually even filmed a fight scene with a prototype nuclear man that was much, much more like Bizarro.
I can see it being Bizarro, and I can see the computer monster in the third film being more like a Brainiac.
Yep.
Of course, in that movie, it ends up being more like Hardak, which was a villain on Batman the Animated Series, which was a giant.
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Was that in the comics? Was Hardak in the comics?
No. I know of Hordak from the toys and stuff.
Hardak, not Hordak.
Oh, Hardak. I don't know what that is.
It was Brainiac for Batman the Animated Series, and he wasn't from space. He was a supercomputer.
That's funny.
Okay. He was trying to replace all the officials in Gotham with robots.
I was going to say, I wouldn't be surprised if that didn't make it into the comics, because there's a lot of stuff from Batman the Animated Series that ended up working its way back to the comics.
Skipper Kenner, wait, you can bump uglies in the neutral zone, so what exactly is the drawback to being sent there? The food is terrible. Anyway.
Right, exactly.
I'm sorry, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's more to that story than that. I don't think there was actually uglies being bumped. I think there was a little technological thing going on there, too.
It's that stupid machine where the two Kryptonians put their thumbprints on it and the baby comes out of it.
Possibly.
Stupid. I'm sorry. That's actually, I mean, maybe that's to show how much of a dystopia in society Krypton, it's so dumb. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. This was I already did the worst Thanksgiving weekend in box office.
Dwayne Johnson.
You got me all discombobulated.
I'm sorry.
I got to go back up now.
Well, I just dropped the link, so you could just grab that. Dwayne Johnson reveals...
I don't read directly from the article. I read from my notes that I ripped off from the article.
I'm sorry.
Completely different thing.
Let me read the title, and that can help you get back on track. Dwayne Johnson reveals Warner Brothers didn't want Henry Cavill back as Superman. Now, keep in mind, everyone, I did point out over the past couple weeks, Dwayne Johnson and Henry Cavill have the same business manager. They're working in cahoots. So that's why things went the way they did with Black Adam. And Dwayne Johnson was hell-bent to bring Henry Cavill back. But apparently he had to fight a little bit in order to make that happen.
The recently released DC film Black Adam saw the much-anticipated return of Henry Cavill as Superman, a move that actor Dwayne Johnson says Warner Brothers Discovery initially didn't want to happen. In a new video celebrating Black Adam becoming the #1 movie on iTunes, Johnson praises Cavill's return, noting that if they wanted to establish Black Adam as one of the most powerful beings in DC, They had to bring back the most powerful, unstoppable force of all time in any universe, which of course is Superman. However, Johnson then seemingly takes some shots at the higher-ups at then DC Films, noting that they inexplicably and inexcusably did not want Cavill to return. While Johnson didn't speak much more about that, he did note that they weren't going to take no for an answer and continue to fight for Cavill's return. And you guys know who I'm talking about. Of course, that is Superman, and that's Henry Cavill, Johnson said. And at the end of the day, the studio was not bringing Henry Cavill back, inexplicably and inexcusably. But we weren't going to take no for an answer. Myself, my $7 co-founder and chairwoman, Danny Garcia, Hiram Garcia, and our $7 president. This has been years in the making regarding bringing Henry Cavill back, and years of shitty conversations, and we're not going to take no for an answer. And also something else to think about for us, there was no viable, logical way you can attempt to build out the DC universe without the most powerful force and the greatest superhero of all time sitting on the sidelines, said Johnson. It's impossible to do. You can Venn diagram business-wise this whole thing 90 different times. When it all comes back to where's Superman, you have to have Superman in the mix. Now, I do want to make a point. I do think you're making a point. I think that the execs at Warner Brothers were trying to make a DC universe without Superman in it.
Yeah. So I think what we have here is two aspects.
I think after Justice League, they were done with him. They weren't going to bring him back.
Right. That we have two different aspects, and you got to kind of read between the lines on something like this. Mm-hmm. So I think on the one hand, he's absolutely right. He was fighting against a regime at Warner Brothers that did want to do away with Superman, right? We've talked about that, how they were going to take and get rid of Superman. They're going to bring in Supergirl, but the dark-haired one from another universe, not the blonde one, right? They were going to get rid of Batman, and they were going to bring in Batgirl, right? They're going to and they were going to team them up with and you're going to have your big three be the women power. And Zaslav came along and said, yeah, because that kind of stuff is working so well for Marvel right now. Yeah, no, we're not doing that. And in his earning call, he was talking about how he said, we got to bring back our big hitter, and that's Superman. Now, that being said, Zaslav and Dwayne Johnson agree. You got to bring Superman back. But that does not necessarily mean Henry Cavill, right? We already know you can have 25 people playing Batman. So the idea of bringing in someone else to play Superman is not outside the realm of possibility. However, that's the other side of what Dwayne Johnson's doing. He's got an ulterior motive here. He's equating Superman with Henry Cavill because he's trying to keep his buddy employed. He wants to work with Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I cut out the quote from the article where he's saying Cavill's the greatest Superman of all time, and I'm thinking, well, let's not go that far. Yeah. I don't think Cavill.
He's got a little bit of bias there, I
don't think Cavill's been given the chance to actually play Superman between Man of Steel, which was just no.
I can agree with you on that. What I will say though,
where he's getting hogtied, and then we have Justice League where he had the fake lip.
Yeah.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, that was horrible.
And look, it's like.
What it is it's two completely different arguments. On the one hand, yes, you can't have the DC universe without Superman. On the other hand, we could debate whether or not it has to be Cavill. And if it's going to be Cavill, how are you going to do it and divorce him from all the crap that went before? Okay, just saying.
How are you going to be able to? Well, where is continuity right now? We keep calling it the Snyderverse. Snyder is gone. He's not been involved for years. Last thing he did was the Snyder cut of Justice League, and now he's gone.
That's true, but the fact is that all of these DC films exist in that universe. The universe that was created by Snyder. You have to. It's appropriate to call it the Snyderverse.
And this is why I was thinking, can they do what we call a soft reboot, like when you have Star Trek 2, where technically started motion picture happened, but you can pretend it didn't.
Right. Exactly.
I mean, if you hated Star Trek: The Motion Picture, I know everybody loved that movie.
Honestly, I wish they would do it, the way that Highlander 3 did, in the days after the death of my friend Ramirez, which is basically him winking a nod to the audience. Yeah, let's just forget that second movie ever happened.
Highlander 2 is underrated. Come on.
I mean,
Virginia Madsen.
It did, that is, and what's his Michael Ironside. I mean, those two actually did make the movie.
I actually would have liked Michael Ironside if they just didn't have that stupid plot of him being from another planet, just been exactly. Like regular immortal. Because remember when he does the thing on the subway?
Yeah, yeah. But honestly, I love watching Highlander 2 because the way I watch it, I only see Virginia Madsen. So you fast forward through all the rest.
Agent Boomer, yes, you do need your most powerful hero back, but how would they get the Adam West Batman in the Black Adam movie? Don't give them ideas.
CG. CG. and I would be happy to pinch hit as the voice. Adam West.
But I just don't see Superman fighting Black Adam. I want Superman to fight Lex Luthor. I just want to see Namor not against Black Panther at Fantastic Four while trying to woo Sue Storm. Here's what it is where I could see it. I mean, I'm not saying they're going to do this. They'll probably still mess up. What if Superman fights Black Adam and can't beat him and has to get Captain Marvel to help him out? Because Captain Marvel is the, Shazam. That's the real hero that's supposed to take out Black Adam. If they're even making Black Adam a villain, which I don't know if they are anymore, I don't know what they're doing.
And, Rosefire, the whole be careful what you wish for. I've thought about that too, and the way that Namor was supposed to be done. Can you imagine if Disney were to try doing that Namor? First, he would be canceled, because, he's womanizing and, blah, 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 and this and that. Secondly, Sue Storm would be vilified, and they'd find some way to have him, destroy their marriage and, undercut the whole concept of the first family. I mean, they would throw the family dynamic on the woke pyre, so don't. Let's not even go there.
This is interesting. It's easy to divorce from that whole thing. Just don't directly reference it. Comics did reference every previous comic running next door. You don't need to. Yeah, that's true. I mean, let's be blunt. There have been bad comic book runs too with superheroes where maybe they realized it was a disaster. We're just going to ignore that now. I know sometimes they retcon it, like with. Did they ever retcon the Spider-Man clone story, or is that still canon?
It's still canon, but they pivoted on that. They made it so that the clone wasn't actually Peter Parker. It was actually, that Ben Reilly character was the clone, not, it was a whole goofy thing. They were like, we're sorry, we messed up. But it's funny because that whole thing of references that Skipper kind of brings up is a great point. I just saw a video recently about Wonder Woman's love of ice cream and how that harkens back to one line in one comic, and then it made it into the movie, and these kinds of things kind of build on each other. Kind of in the same way Lois Lane has her love of freshly squeezed orange juice and being an ex-smoker because of, Superman 1 and 2, it's made its way into the comic lore and all this kind of stuff. So I kind of can,
It was a funny line in the Wonder Woman movie, though, when she did get there. I mean, like I said, even if I don't like everything about the movie, I can still point when she's with Steve Trevor and the guy offers her ice cream and Steve Trevor pays for the ice cream and she tries this, you should be very proud. Like she thinks that this one man invented
it or whatever. Yeah, exactly.
The whole fish out of water thing. Did Black Adam bomb? That's what I want to know. Yeah, he actually, Matanui raises a good question. How well did Black Adam do at the box office?
So from what I've been hearing, it did pretty well, but not as well as they needed it to. Okay. But it did well enough that it kind of sends the message, if we do a good story, that people want to see, they will come to see it.
Isn't that the story of all the DC movies, maybe except for Wonder Woman and Aquaman, is that they do well, but not as well as they needed to. Like, I guess, except for Justice League, that one did not do well when it came out in theaters. But
yeah, again, it's a lot of them putting their carts in front of their horses, and someone somewhere at Warner Brothers, I remember some time ago saying how they wanted to get away from doing this shared universe and start getting into standalone superhero movies. It's like, yeah, That's kind of how comic books always were. You mostly do separate stories. You acknowledge that they exist in the same world, but you don't constantly have them building up to, the big crossover. Those come once in a while, maybe once a decade. Okay.
When they were done with the Dark Knight trilogy, I was hoping they were going to do a Superman trilogy and would go the exact opposite route, whereas the Dark Knight was trying to be as gritty realistic as it could possibly be. Like if it took place in the world, I wanted Superman to be even more fantastic. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Like
and that's
fantastical world, and do a trilogy based on that and concept. That
is a perfect example of Hollywood learning the absolute wrong lesson. They said, hey, we did so well with this Batman trilogy. Let's make a Superman trilogy and make it exactly the same.
Make it gritty.
If you want to make it exactly the same, then do another Batman trilogy. If you're going to do Superman, Superman is a different character. And Wonder Woman is a different character. Okay, you can't make alien flying bat and female Amazon bat. It's they are their own things. Yeah.
Don't give the Elseworlds people ideals. It'll be Wonder Woman as Batman next, right? She'll washed up on the Wayne's property or something. Well, the Waynes are yachting and they adopt her. And
exactly.
I'm sorry. Let's move on to the next article, huh? Legendary.
Oh yeah. Let me.
This one I should have put in the title. This is actually an important story, but I didn't see it there at the beginning. Legendary Entertainment, the production company behind Dune and Godzilla vs. Kong, has cut ties with Warner Brothers and entered a multi-year worldwide film distribution partnership with Sony Pictures.
What a shock! Who saw this coming?
This is actually a big slap in the face to Warner Brothers, and they've had
and they frickin' deserved it. Yeah, exactly.
This was Jason Killar. We talked about this in the early days of this channel.
We did. Yes, we did.
Day and date, and like they were saying, oh, that's all right. We made a good deal with Patty Jenkins and Gal Gadot. They're going to get a big paycheck. And Legendary Pictures are like, wait a minute, you didn't consult us about this. And you're putting Godzilla versus Kong when we're trying, because I think what people don't understand sometimes is that we see Disney of owning everything, but the other studios aren't like that. They have to partner with other people.
Yep.
I would argue Maverick, Paramount put it out, but was it Skydance made it? Tom Cruise's company made it, and then Paramount put it out.
Right.
Even this that Samaritan movie I watched, even though Amazon distributes it on Amazon, I think Stallone's production company made it. The same people
exactly. And we had said at the time, and I said it actually earlier in this stream. I was talking about how well Batman versus Kong. Oh, jeez.
That should happen.
I know. Now that I've said it,
we could have had the multiverse with it being the Kongverse going into DC. Come on.
Oh my gosh.
Superman fighting Godzilla. Come on.
That would be good too. Oh my gosh. I meant Godzilla versus Kong, and how well it did despite being a day and date release. And we had said at the time, holy crap, can you imagine how good this would have been if they had just released it in the theater? What kind of a box office it would have gotten. And this was during it was during the pandemic, wasn't it? When a lot of places were still locked down?
Yeah.
They should have gone with a 40-day window. They should have released it. They should have released it at the theater and been able to say, hey, look, we're back. People want to go to the theaters, right? And then 40 days later, okay, now you can watch it on streaming. But they didn't do that. And, they're like you said, they got slapped in the face because of it. And we knew they would.
Anyway, under the new agreement, Sony will market and distribute Legendary's upcoming theatrical motion picture titles. However, select existing projects at Legendary are exempt from the pact, meaning Warner Brothers Pictures is still backing Dune Part 2, I would hope, since they released Part 1, could you imagine Doom Part 2 coming from Sony and stuff?
Yeah, that would be maybe a bridge too far.
The sequel to 2021 sci-fi adaptation Dune is currently in production, slated for release on November 3rd, 2023. In a press release, Sony Pictures and Legendary emphasized that the companies are aligned in their ongoing commitment to theatrical distribution as a driver for other downstream windows and theatrical windows' long-term value for films. That sentiment may be a not so subtle nod to Legendary's public spat with Warner Brothers in late 2020. At the time, the production company threatened to take legal action over Warner's decision to send all of its 2021 movies, including the Legendary-backed Godzilla vs. Kong and Dune, to HBO Max on the same day they debut in theaters. However, the two companies hashed out frustrations for the moment and found an agreement that satisfied both parties. Moreover, Godzilla vs. Kong grossed $470 million globally, and Dune generated $401 million worldwide, making each of them pandemic-era box office hits, despite playing day and date on streaming. But as you said, Troy, I think they could have made more.
Absolutely.
It's a rare opportunity to partner with this mutually beneficial way with true pros who are completely aligned with our theatrical commitment and vision for this business, said Josh Greenstein and Sanford Penech, presidents of Sony Pictures Motion Pictures Group. The creative brilliance and power of Legendary is huge, and we look forward to bringing their work to theaters across the world. Yeah, they're basically slapping Warner Brothers. What does this mean for Kong, though? Does this mean, I guess, future movies in that universe are now going to be put up by Sony, which in some ways makes sense because Sony's a Japanese company and Godzilla's a Japanese icon, right? So
yeah,
it's so weird if Sony's really. In fact, didn't Sony put out that didn't they put out the Godzilla movie years back, the Roland Emmerich one?
Oh, I don't know.
Sony release? I don't know now. Okay. As for Dune, I guess Warner Brothers still owns Dune, but I guess it's just the sequel.
I actually like where the conversation's going in the chat. Skipper Kenner was saying Maverick versus Godzilla, a Papa Pacelli feature film coming to a theater near you. And Rosefire says, that sounds like a fantastic idea to me. Skipper Kenner says, I'd contribute to the budget on this one. My son is studying film in college. If I ask, he'll run directly in the opposite direction at top speed. I'm in.
I'm sorry. I just had an image of a Maverick movie where they're training for a mission to go up against Godzilla. And it's the whole thing and the odds and them going through practice like they have like a dummy Godzilla on the field. They're going over, and like they finally succeed and they go on the final mission, and then Maverick just gets swatted with Godzilla's tail or something. It goes down and dies.
Yeah, they fly through his atomic breath and they're just vaporized.
Directed by Ryan Johnson.
Oh God, yeah, you're right.
And then he destroys New York or something.
Pretty much.
I'm just done. Movies are done. We had a very nice guest on Troy's stream on Friday who was making a point about keeping things fresh.
Real quick, let's say goodnight to Rosefire.
Take
care. Hope you catch the rest of it on the rerun. Take care.
Yeah, take care.
But yeah, TJ Manrique. He's got a new book coming out on the 12th.
And he was making a point about keeping things fresh. In the 70s and 70s, like there was a cop show, but there'd be another cop show coming on, but it would have to figure out a way to differentiate itself and make it better. And instead of just going back to old properties, things always had to be new. And that's what he and a lot of the independent writers out there are doing right now, too, with their works. And I kind of feel like I'm seeing the same properties over and over again. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And that's an excellent point. So again, guys, go back and it's still up. Go check my stream from Friday. All the links are there so that you can get in on that book. We do a lot of talking about how our franchises are being kind of gutted these days, but we got to support new writers and people that have new stories. And I think TJ Manrique might be your new favorite sci-fi writer.
Check it out. Listen to the stream too. It was a good conversation on Friday. I think you'll enjoy it.
And boy, did we get ripped. We were both talking offline the next day. He's like, how do you feel? I'm like, oh, I'm good. I do this every Friday. He goes, yeah, I wasn't expecting it to go 2.5 hours. I was sipping the whole time. I got wasted. I'm like, I didn't even notice you were drunk. Maybe it's because I was so drunk.
Oh, it's funny, though. I think I brought up about... I don't know how this happened. I wasn't even drinking, but I think I brought up people online paying for bathwater from certain.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not gonna do that. You're freaking out. It's a rare opportunity.
People would pay to not receive my bathwater. Well, I don't take baths. I shower, but because I'm a man.
I used to take baths in ages past, but I just don't have time for it these days. But yeah,
the only baths I ever took were on date nights, and they involved rose petals and candles and crap.
Okay. This was
but that wasn't for me. That was because it was date night. Yeah.
You ready to talk about that 90s show?
I don't know, man. I'm kind of afraid. But yeah, let's hit it. Yep, that 70s show sets Netflix premiere date. There's a problem right there, Netflix.
That 90s show sets.
Did I say that 70s show?
Godzilla's the reason they need to stop blaming. Yeah, also, yeah, Godzilla vs. Kong, Maverick, that's another one. Spider-Man No Way Home did very well.
Oh, yeah.
We were still in the pandemic. They don't know how are people going to see this movie. It's like, yeah, they don't care anymore.
Yeah.
That 90s show. So you have reservations. Let's read the article.
Yeah.
When Netflix first reached out to that 70s show creators Bonnie and Terry Turner about rebooting the show and setting it in the 90s, their answer was a swift no. And then we thought about it some more, said Terry Turner, and we said no again. That the notion had been unlocked. It was during the pandemic quarantines, and the Turners had plenty of time stuck indoors to think about it. Meanwhile, Carsey Werner's Tom Werner, who successfully brought back Roseanne, with one heck of a course leading it to evolve into the Connors, was also in contact and asked the Turners about it as well. The Turners thought about it some more and started considering it, but only if they came up with an idea that worked. Our first pass was that Eric Topher Grace had at some point gone to a rock festival and hooked up with someone leading to an unknown grandchild, Terry Turner says. And at the doorway shows up a 14-year-old or 15-year-old kid who says he's Red and Kitty's grandkid. Netflix told them to try again as audiences don't warm up to a surprise love child. The Turners then approached to Greg Metler, who wrote for them on 70s Show and Third Rock from the Sun, about taking the reins as showrunner. Together, Metler and the Turners, including their daughter Lindsay, cracked the concept. We agreed amongst ourselves we weren't going to do it unless we could find a reason, Lindsay Turner says. And the thing that Greg said that I really loved, and I know Mom and Dad did too, was the 90s was the last time that people were looking up. They weren't looking down at their phones. It was the last place of a real kind of engagement, having to make your own fun and really connecting with each other. Fruits of their 10-episode live-action That 90s Show, starring Smith, Rupp, and a young troupe of newcomers, premieres January 19th on the streamer. Variety has a first look at the teaser trailer and cast photos. Scroll down. Okay, you can look at it on the site. But I want to have that very same feeling as that 70s Show did. Metler said the show had a very special tone. It was playful, it had heart, it was sarcastic, it was filled with love within this family, within the friend group. I miss being in the basement with those kids. In that 70s Show, Eric and Donna are married. In that 90s Show, Eric and Donna are married and have a 15-year-old daughter, Leia. Eric would have totally named his daughter Leia, Metler said. As a Star Wars-inspired name. That whole notion made me smile so much that I knew we had to something that was something we had to build on. One summer, Leia winds up visiting her grandparents, Red and Kitty, who are still living in the Foreman family home in Point Place, Wisconsin. Leia soon meets next-door neighbor Gwen, named after 90s icon Gwen Stefani, and falls in love with Gwen's crew, including Gwen's brother Nate and his girlfriend Nikki and their pals Ozzy and Jay. Every season will take place only during the summer as Leia makes trips to see her grandparents while school is out. The producers say they like the idea of a fresh slate each season for these teenagers. They physically change, they emotionally change, their lives have changed, their goals have changed. Bonnie Turner says it just was great story fodder. Adds Terry Turner, setting it only during the summer gets the whole school and having to go to class thing out of the way, which was, we discovered in the original story that wasn't what was interesting. It was more interesting in the basement. Also, people change when they go away. They come back 9 months later, and when they're teenagers, Sometimes there's a radical change, sometimes not, but sometimes people have decided to go a completely different path.
That's kind of true, actually.
It's interesting, yeah. Original 70s show cast members Grace Prepon, who directed several episodes of that 90s show, Wilmer Valderrama, Ashton Kutcher, Mila Kunis will all make guest appearances. Not back is Danny Masterson, currently on trial and charged with something. I heard it was a mistrial, though. I don't think he'll be back, though.
Yeah, probably not.
But
he's actually the easiest one to write out, right? He ended up getting burned out and, never seen again.
But the real continuity with the original is Smith and Rupp, who are also executive producers this time around. They didn't need convincing for a second, Bonnie Turner says. They both said separately, if you're there, we're there. They read the scripts and were very valuable in talking to us about how Red and Kitty have aged, and maybe they're like this, says Lindsay Turner. Well, what was really key early on was talking to Deborah Joe and Kurtwood about who Red and Kitty became in the quiet after the kids left, and how do the kids coming back change that? How has it reawakened pieces of them? How have they changed? How are they the same? Part of the reason that we knew we were doing good was those conversations were funny and nuanced and interesting. Metler wrote that 70 show finale, also the 200 episode in 2006, says he luckily hadn't painted himself into a continuity corner with how the original show ended, but he didn't go back and watch all episodes. I just didn't want to write that show again, he says. And as far as the details of those characters, Wikipedia is a great thing to just refresh your memory. I didn't want to get too heavily bogged down in it, honestly, because I just want to write more from the heart and the feeling of the piece. For the sake of the news stories, the most important piece of it was where are Eric and Donna now, and where is their daughter? Outside of that, Red and Kitty are this classic couple that just never goes out of style.
I mean, yeah, I'm going to say I like that attitude about, yeah, you don't necessarily have to get so bogged down in the previous show that you are no longer doing something new. I do appreciate that fact that the internet exists. I've said this about canon and continuity about so many things before, right? That if you go to see a Marvel film and there is some little Easter egg, you're going to find out about it in the next couple days on YouTube. Somebody's going to mention it, and then you're going to go to Wikipedia, or you're going to go to whatever the Marvel equivalent wiki is, and you're going to look up the history on that character, and you go, oh, that's interesting, and maybe you watch, Sasha over on Casually Comics, who does a retrospective on a particular character, and maybe you pick up some issues and read them. This is good synergy, right? Unfortunately, we got way too many people out there doing reboots, remakes, whatevers, and they don't even bother with the Wikipedia.
No.
Oh, this is fiction. We can do whatever we want.
Here's what they used to have at television shows. They used to have this thing called a Bible. This was probably before the internet, where that you would have to look at it to make sure you were following continuity with characters. Right. It would be like synopses and stuff, kind of like what you would have in wikis now. And
exactly.
People wrote for shows would use these. Obviously,
look, the Bibles, the writing and technical Bibles for Star Trek were literally the basis for the released books, the chronology, the encyclopedia, the technical manual. I have original prints of the first and second season Next Gen Bibles, and you could compare them to those released books and go, okay, I see where this came from. They cleaned it up, they took the notes out of the end, and they put it into the main text and whatnot, and yeah.
What would a 90s show, pop culturally, I'm thinking, would one of the kids have to be a Star Trek The Next Generation fan, and Patrick Stewart might guest star in an episode, like how Alice Cooper might have guest starred on that.
Actually, what would be funny about that is, have one of the kids talking about being into Star Trek The Next Generation, and have one of the older people like, oh, that's crap. There's no Kirk. There's no Spock. It's not Star Trek. I'm just concerned about what's going to happen to Red Foreman's character. I don't see him being unscathed by the modern sensibilities.
I am going to say that 70s show is considered a problematic show now. Did you know that?
I am not at all friggin' surprised.
They don't like it. I've seen articles on how, I can't believe they did this on that 70s show. Then this is what they did here was so problematic.
This is the irony.
Yeah.
This is why the people that claim to be progressive today are not progressive. They are regressive. Because the most progressive shows of the past, you look at, sure, I'll say that 70s show. Look at All in the Family. So many of them, right? That were very, very progressive, that made you think, that addressed social issues and stuff. Even Star Trek back then. Now they're problematic. Well, guess what? That's unfortunately, you're saying that the most progressive things in our history are problematic. No. You know what? You blue-haired land whales, you're problematic. Shut the hell up, stay off of social media, go hide in your parents' basement, because you certainly, sure as hell, can't take care of yourselves.
Hey, maybe we'll get it.
And let the grown-ups take care of stuff, okay? Just shut the hell up.
Maybe we'll get a That 20 show someday. You never know.
You know what would be good is a 1920s show,
Yeah. Yeah,
that would be actually kind of cool. A period piece like that. Yeah. Set during Prohibition.
They did. It was called Boardwalk Empire. Anyway.
Good point. Good point. Oh, I like that. Good.
No, but what I like about this, though, if you think about it, enough time has passed since that 70s show that it can now take place in the 90s with the same actors. Isn't that weird?
Yeah, it is. And it's cool. It does make sense. And let's just kind of forget that 80s show ever happened.
Was that a thing?
It was. It did happen.
Oh, yikes!
No, I don't think it even had anything to do with that 70s show. I don't think any of the characters crossed over. I don't think it was just a cheap attempt to keep the hype going, and it died in less than a season. But yes, it was a thing.
Off to Wahhavi. Have a great one, all. 8 to W05. Off to work. I'm just trying to figure that out. Anyway.
That's okay. Either way, thanks for stopping by, William Jackson. Hope you catch the rest of the show. We got just a couple more articles. Maybe stop by tomorrow and see us.
There's a mosquito in this room. Don't you love living in Chicago where you don't have mosquitoes in December?
Well, there is that because they all freeze to death. And let's face it, the mosquitoes you have, they're like as big as your head.
They're horrible down here. This is a monstrous Bubble Bath, Chardonnay, and Geeky Geezers. Utopia, are you a wine and? Is that what I'm sorry? Wait a minute. Okay, AMC layoffs. I'm keeping my fingers crossed on that 90s show. I'm gonna give it a look. I'll say this: the actress they have playing Leia, Eric's daughter. She has some of his mannerisms down, except you can see how she's kind of his daughter in a way,
And that's good. There's a certain amount of verisimilitude there, right? Yeah. Hopefully she went back and she watched some of those shows and kind of got an idea. These are my parents, or at least my parents when they were young. So what kind of a person would I be today,
The 90s. I do miss the 90s. Anyway, let's go back now. But we're not in the 90s now. We're in the 20s. Miserable 2020s.
Kinda, yeah.
I'll say this. Any youngins in the chat here, do you like this decade? Maybe I'm not seeing the good in it.
I don't know.
Of course, I've just gone through a hurricane, so there's that. Which we will be talking about on Friday on Troy's stream.
Yes, we absolutely will.
AMC...
And we're gonna blame global warming because we never had hurricanes before global warming.
AMC networks to undergo layoffs as CEO exits and streaming can't offset linear TV. So the CEO leaves, and now suddenly the layoffs are happening.
Who could have seen that coming?
Shortly after AMC Network CEO Christina Spade abruptly stepped down after less than 3 months in the role. That's not a long time.
Nope.
That's worse than Chapek, actually. The company's chairman, James Dolan, sent a memo to staff on November 28th forecasting a large-scale layoff as well as cuts for every operating area. It was our best belief that cord-cutting losses would be offset by gains in streaming. This has not been the case, Dolan wrote, adding, we, of course, realize that this will not cause significant concern and anxiety for our employees and those who rely on AMC networks for their livelihood. We do not take this lightly. We will take every step possible to minimize the impact of these actions on our community. The company home to such cable networks as AMC, IFC, and Sundance, as well as streamers such as AMC Plus, Acorn TV, and Shudder, didn't immediately provide details about the reasons behind the move and said it was finalizing the process of picking up a successor. Across its brands, AMC Networks has about 10.8 million subscribers, and the expectations is that the subs will be at 12 million by the end of the year, with a plan to reach 20 million to 25 million by 2025. See, they've been in the streaming wars as well. Yep. I actually had a subscription to AMC Plus for the whole past year. I got a very good deal on it Christmas time last year, so it was all right. It had some stuff on there. I got access to Shudder, which was like a horror streaming service.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
They had
some really good stuff on that channel.
Yeah. So there's good stuff on there. I'm not saying that, but cord cutting is accelerating. Latest quarter, their largest pay TV providers in the U.S. So they're losing money too because AMC was provided with cable services. Remember all those AMC channels or Sundance channel? Now those are being cut because people are cord cutting.
Yep.
They're cord cutting, but they're not necessarily subscribing to AMC Plus to replace it.
Yep. So here's what it comes down to, right? When I was in high school, taking shop classes, the primary rule was the right tool for the right job, right? You don't try to drive a screw with a hammer. You just don't. And that's exactly the way it is in entertainment, right? Right media for the right job, so to speak. And everybody's getting into the streaming, and they want to bypass the theater, they want to bypass network television, and they want you to come and subscribe to them. And what have we all been saying since all of this started? We said, there's only so many people that can subscribe to only so many streams before you're maxed out. Then you're screwed. You can't continue to increase your viewership even in a linear fashion, let alone in a parabolic one. You eventually run out of people and you stagnate. So the best you could hope for in streaming is, as you point out, the tendency is to cord cut. So if you are a cable channel like AMC, you go, okay, we're going to take what we do on AMC and we're going to make it a separate stream. Okay, and as cable goes away, you can come to our streaming service, and we'll partner with other streaming services, and what once was cable becomes a network of streaming services. That's how you keep your business model going. But that's not what they've been doing. They've all been trying to do it on their own, and they're realizing, well, people are now going to, because it used to be when you got cable, you paid one fee for cable, and you got, 5 channels you wanted to see, and 250 channels of shit that you didn't care about, And so now a lot of these cable channels are starting to realize, hey, guess what? You were the shit that nobody wanted in the first place.
Well, to be fair, though, AMC, they made a point. They've just wrapped up Better Call Saul. That was the Breaking Bad prequel. That was a big deal. Killing Eve, I guess, was popular. That ran to its conclusion. Also, Walking Dead finished up this year.
Sure. And you could argue that there was a lot of good stuff on AMC. In fact, in its older days, when AMC wasn't just AMC, it was American Movie Classics.
Oh, movies. That's those things.
Right. There was a lot of great content back then.
What Turner Classic Movies is now, basically.
Right, exactly. And but you had a much better offering, right? AMC was always good, but never stand on its own great. That's the problem. And honestly, none of these streaming services are. Disney Plus, some people might subscribe to it for The Mandalorian, or they might subscribe to it for, well, I don't know. There's some people out there that actually like She-Hulk. I don't know if anyone's actually subscribing to the channel for it, but,
HBO Max is probably the best, but it's basically just HBO.
Yeah.
HBO has always had a following. Yeah.
And HBO is a great example of one that probably could stand on its own. Right? And if HBO then starts pulling in some of its other content from its other acquisitions, It's one that could stand on its own. It could be a cornerstone if AMC and a couple of other streams wanted to network with them.
Well, look at Paramount though. Paramount Plus, they're saying do the Paramount Plus Showtime bundle, and it's like, why don't they just have Showtime as part of Paramount Plus?
Right.
Because that was their pay channel. Look at this. Okay, apparently though, there's new shows coming on this year. They have an Orphan Black sequel series coming out called Echo.
After She-Hulk, I don't care anymore.
Well,
I loved Orphan Black. After She-Hulk, I will not be watching anything new Orphan Black. No.
Bob Odenkirk's going to be in some show called Straight Man. Giancarlo Esposito.
Well, that show needs to be canceled right off the bat. Anything called Straight Man. Nobody wants to see anything about straight people. It's all gay people now.
Giancarlo Esposito. Well, they have that show. It's called Interview with the Vampire.
Well, there you go.
Of course, they're vampires, so that's not the same. Giancarlo Esposito is going to be in a show called The Driver, which probably wonders, is that a television adaptation of the Walter Hill movie from the 70s? About the guy that drives criminals around, like he's like the getaway driver. That might be interesting. If that's
interesting, yeah.
Like a follow-up or a remake of that. I don't know, but I might watch that if that was, You ever seen The Driver by Walter Hill?
I know of it. I didn't actually watch it.
The guy from Love Story in it or something. He's a horrible character in that movie. He's just not likable at all. He's a professional, so on that level you respect him, but he's not.
Yeah.
Anyway, so you can read the statement to the employees. It's kind of sad. I don't hate AMC or anything, but it's everybody wants to be top dog, and there's not room. Okay, are we at the final article? Doctor Who.
Yeah, I gotta drop it in two parts actually, because
it's the Daily Mail.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
they're big for their britches.
Yeah.
And subscribe to Deleted Scenes if you have not already, including people listening right now. He's good people.
Oh gosh, he's an awesome Blue Wrench. He definitely deserves your support in every way that you can.
BBC bosses draft in Phoebe Waller-Bridge to help reboot Doctor Who and turn it into a super brand following Fleabag creator's success with James Bond smash No Time to Die.
That's the funny part about this. You read that and you're like, James Bond smashed No Time to Die. Was it really?
Well, I think
was it really a smash?
I don't know. I mean, it wasn't a good movie. Maybe it finally pulled in the money, though. It was okay. Let's read the article.
That's not a smash, though. That's an adequate film.
BBC bosses are reportedly set to sign Phoebe Waller-Bridge to help reboot Doctor Who ahead of its new series. You can also see her in the trailer for the new Indiana Jones movie.
Yeah.
According to The Sun, the Fleabag creator, 37. Why do they have to point her age in this article?
Because she looks like she's 50.
All right, let's be nice here. Anyway,
I'm not just being mean. I'm just saying it's true.
Why are they bringing up the age? I guess because they're trying to sell this to the young people, right?
I guess.
Don't trust anyone over 40. You can trust these people because they're not. Okay.
I hope she's going to Carousel soon, to be honest with you.
According to The Sun, the Fleabag creator, 37, impressed producers after being drafted in to help give James Bond's 2019 No Time to Die script a modern twist. It comes as the series will see Nikita Gatwa, 30, take on the role of the famous Time Lord, and its budget swelling to £10 million per episode thanks to a deal with Disney Plus. So it looks like Disney's going to be pumping some money into this.
Oh, yay.
Okay. An insider told the publication...
Strange New Who.
An insider told the publication this is all part of a huge effort to deliver a huge reboot of Doctor Who and turn it into a global super brand on a par with Star Wars and Marvel.
Good! You're going to destroy it exactly the way you did with Star Wars and Marvel. Now we know where you're going with this. Okay, good. Keep going.
Well, I would argue Doctor Who was already destroyed at the time.
Well, you actually have a very good point there. It's not going to get better, folks.
But they're not going to be rebooting it. Unless it's what we call a soft reboot. Okay. An insider told the publication. Okay, so they want to make it a super brand.
Look, all you got, we already know, all we need to know that Phoebe Waller-Bridge is going to be behind it.
She's Fleabag in it.
Fleabag, the new James, new James Bond, yeah, and the new Indiana Jones. Okay, so you can bet that this doctor, he's going to be black and gay, and you bet he's going to regenerate into another woman. You better believe it. It's going to remain Dr. Her from here on out. All the companions are going to be gay or trans or whatever.
Remember when the doctor's sexuality...
And instead of running, they'll all be in wheelchairs, because we got to also have that representation, too. Stop shouting, you're hurting my ears.
Remember when they didn't really bring up the doctor's sexuality in the old show?
Yeah.
I guess he was.
That's the way it was supposed to be, yeah.
He wasn't really about hooking up with the companions or anything like that. That wasn't his thing.
Exactly.
He was basically an old man. He just sometimes got a younger body, but he was basically like the old cantankerous. Anyway, let's move on. But part is the reinvention. They also wanted writing, which will mask the investment they're now making in the show, and Phoebe is now considered one of the best in the business.
Oh my God. If that's true, then just forget it. Just shut down all entertainment. The industry is dead.
Can I finish the article? We have a lot to get through here. Okay, we're gonna be here for like another hour, so okay.
Yeah, I don't want to spend another hour on Phoebe Waller-Bridge.
It's a question of whether they can come up with a strong enough deal to entice her to Doctor Who, given she'll be constantly swamped with offers from around the world. Mail Online have contacted reps for the BBC and Phoebe for comment. Phoebe was reportedly brought in as scriptwriter for 007's final outing to ensure the blockbuster was appropriate for the at Me Too era, included full-rounded female characters. Maybe that's why the whole beginning of that movie was about that little girl being chased by that guy who I guess was the woman that was Mr. White's daughter. They spent like 20 minutes on her before we even get to Bond. Okay, it's
all about the woke. And we all know that, woke means success in Hollywood.
Let's move on. Daniel Craig gushed about her talent selling Vanity Fair before the film's release. She's just brilliant. I had my honor ever since the first Fleabag, and I saw Killing Eve and what she did with that, and just wanted her voice. With Russell T Davies returning as Doctor Who showrunner, the popular sci-fi franchise is also set to get record-breaking new budget after the BBC signed an exciting new deal with Disney Plus, according to reports. Sources told Broadcast Magazine the budget is set to increase from $1 to $3 million per episode to a staggering $10 million per installment when the show returns next year. The reported budget would break BBC records and see Doctor Who become its most expensive series, surpassing the previous record holder, His Dark Materials, which had a budget of around $6 million per episode due to its HBO collaboration. Disney Plus is set to become the new global home for Doctor Who, with episodes from late 2023 premiering on both BBC and the streaming service. So I'm assuming if you live in England, you can still watch these episodes of Doctor Who on the BBC, but they'll also be available on Disney Plus anywhere in the world.
Okay.
So I guess it's not going to be coming to BBC America anytime soon.
I don't know. I think
it's a Disney Plus exclusive. I think you have to subscribe to Disney Plus to watch more Doctor Who.
It doesn't matter to me. I didn't watch anything past the first few episodes of Jodie Whittaker. I definitely didn't watch anything past The Timeless Child. I will not be watching this. I don't think most Doctor Who fans will be, so congratulations, Disney. You just acquired something else that's going to bankrupt you.
You think they acquired a lemon?
Pardon me?
You think they didn't acquire a lemon because they don't actually own Doctor Who. They're just the distributors around the world. BBC still owns Doctor Who.
Yeah, as far as distribution goes for them, they're not losing anything on it per se. So in that regard, but let's face it, anything Disney touches turns to crap, so that's not going to help this show.
Russell T Davies said of the collaboration, "I love this show, and this is the best of both worlds. With the vision and joy of the BBC and Disney Plus together, we can launch the TARDIS all around the planet, reaching a new generation of fans while keeping our traditional home firmly on the BBC in the UK." As reports of more money being pumped into the show, the BBC have already secured huge names for its big 60th anniversary in 2023, including Neil Patrick Harris starring as a mystery villain. A new Doctor Who, Ncuti Gatwa, answers where he would take his TARDIS. The actor 49... Never mind. Okay. Sorry, I messed up there. Okay, let's go back to Neil Patrick Harris. The actor 49 will play the greatest enemy the Doctor has ever faced, with fans convinced that he will take on the nostalgic villain, the Toymaker, during his guest starring stint. The Celestial Toymaker, that's the name of the character, right?
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, because that's what he looks like in the thing, but I don't know. Or he looks like some guy with a old-timey haircut. I don't know. But yeah, the actor who's playing the Doctor said he would take the TARDIS to Africa. That's what he had said. For some reason, that didn't paste. Okay, so what do you think?
Yeah,
It said that Jodie Whittaker's final episode pulled in just 3.6 million average viewers, with a peak of 4 million. So her finale didn't do too well.
Shocker.
Okay, well, so Chibnall's out. Davies is back. You looking forward to? Well, I guess you're not going to watch it because it's on Disney Plus, but I know you sometimes find other means, right?
If I wanted to see it, I could see it, but it's not worth the bandwidth to me.
Do you think this will make it worse with Disney being involved? They're going to pump a lot of money into it, at least, right?
It certainly doesn't help. It really doesn't. I mean, I think what we talked about with Strange World pretty much covers it. Disney is a damaged brand. It is not one that is looked to as the gold standard for family entertainment any longer. And
so in a way, though, Disney acquired Marvel. They acquired Lucasfilm with Star Wars. And now they haven't acquired Doctor Who, but they have a stake in it now. So this is.
So what you're saying is that Disney is where franchises go to die. Okay.
Doctor Who was already dead because of all the crap they pulled in the Whittaker era.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty much dead. And they're just pulling a Hail Mary and saying, well, let's see if we can get more audience somewhere else because we've lost our audience here.
Do you think that Doctor Who can be a global brand along the same lines as Marvel or Star Wars?
That's like asking me, Star Wars, Marvel, DC. Yes, they could be if they wanted it to. If they wanted to drop doing the woke bullshit messaging, start doing some just good storytelling and entertaining, and focus on the fans. Because without the fans, you have nothing. Seriously. They want to jettison fans for some new audience that doesn't exist. It doesn't work that way. The fans keep these things alive, and they bring their friends in. And they say, I love this show. You're going to love it too. Come on. You know what? If you don't understand anything, I can explain it to you. And we can watch my DVDs of the old episodes. Da, 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 da. And we get together, we'll have watch parties. And we'll go to conventions and cosplay and blah, blah, blah. If you don't have that, you have nothing. You are left holding an empty sack. We have seen it time and time again. That's what's happened to Star Wars. It's what's beginning to happen to Marvel. It's what Warner Brothers is kind of fighting with DC, trying to turn it around. And it's over. Huh? Yeah.
Were you ever involved in the Doctor Who fan community in any?
I was. Community? Yeah. The last convention in the Chicago area that Nanette and I actually worked at doing security was a Chicago TARDIS. And we met Freema,
Colin, Capaldi.
No, Capaldi wasn't there.
Yeah, because I remember you going up to saying, you're my favorite.
No. That was McGann. That was Paul McGann. Sylvester McCoy. I'm forgetting the bloke's name who played the Sultaran.
I remember him. Yeah.
Yeah. Kind of a short guy, but you'd expect that. It was a lot of fun. But this was in the days before Dr. Her, and this was back when people were really fired up about it, and it's kind of sad. It really is. So many people here that I know that were Doctor Who fans are like, yeah, I've lost interest. I don't care anymore.
Are the fans where the companies make their money? Sorry, things have confused me lately. Yeah, as they have me as well.
Yeah.
It's probably better to keep the old and the new fans.
I like the Potawatomi. Oh, are the fans where the companies make their money? Sorry, things have confused me lately. Yeah, good point. Very good point.
Yeah, so that about wraps it up. I don't. Well, they can't make it worse, can they?
Well, I mean, I suppose from a certain point of view, no. I mean, you kill a franchise and it's dead. It can't get any worse than that, you know? So
Star Trek, for whatever reason, I don't feel is dead. I don't know.
No,
why
it's the kind of thing that
Doctor Who, I think they really messed up.
Unless they walk away from it and revive it in a way that, honors the fans, I'd say it's definitely got to stay on hiatus. That's the only thing I can say.
And then there's Star Wars. And then there's Willow, huh?
I mean, I don't know, man. It's a sad time.
Did they make Mad Mortigan a deadbeat dad?
Probably. It's what it's really gotten to is it's like, oh, did you like this? Well, that's too bad. We're gonna kill it now. I don't know.
All right. What else is going on? I'm trying to think. Okay, so this week, what you got going on? We have on Tuesday, you and I are going to be on Mr. Matchstick's channel.
Well, but there isn't there a Batman?
Yeah, there's going to be a
tomorrow?
Batman show, I believe, on Birdman's channel on Monday. Check that out. And
I
will
even drop the link for that.
I will be on.
Go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say it's his Christmas special, so definitely stop by. Wish him a happy holiday. Give him a thumbs up.
Mm-hmm.
And is Mr. Matchstick's link up yet?
I don't know.
Let me check. Let me check if he's already got it up. Live. Well, I don't see that it's up yet, but I will drop the link to his channel. Make sure you subscribe to him because on Tuesday we will be talking about... That's okay. I got it, Mr. Matchstick. We will be talking about the 1990... What was it? 1990-something Spectacular Spider-Man. No?
It's not from the 90s. From the aughts.
Oh, is it? It's in the year 2000.
What is the year for Spectacular Spider-Man? Now I'm going to find... Now you're making me look that up. No, the 90s Spider-Man series was different. Not bad, especially frankly, it was the first time people had seen Spider-Man in an age. But Spectacular Spider-Man season 1, when did that come out?
God, I hope I watched the right show then.
2008. There's only one show called Spectacular Spider-Man.
Oh, okay, good. Okay.
Did it end with Venom?
Yes. Okay.
Okay, then you watched the right show.
Okay. Okay. I was gonna say I'm gonna be completely lost on Tuesday otherwise.
Yeah. You're gonna be okay. And let's see what else. Okay, so Tuesday, Master channel, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We will be doing a discussion of Spectacular Spider-Man season 1. It's an excellent series. If you have a Netflix subscription, it's gonna be on there until the 15th of December, and I believe Disney Plus has it on there now. So. What else is going on? Wednesday night, I will be on Soundtracks to Birdman. We are going to be doing a rewatch of the movie Cobra with Sylvester Stallone. We're going to be going on an hour earlier to accommodate our guest from the United Kingdom, Retro Reels. He's going to be on with us. So check us out an hour earlier. We're going to be doing a rewatch of Cobra.
I just dropped the link, but I didn't give any... I didn't say specifically that was the Cobra one, but there it is. You can go hit the little notify me button on there so that it comes up in your feed. Where do our
images go?
Huh?
Hold on. Okay. Are they on YouTube? Things. Oh, never mind.
Yeah.
Things got weird. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So Cobra. You've seen Cobra with Sly Stallone?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
It's a Christmas movie. It takes place at Christmas time.
I don't remember that about it, but okay.
Yeah, the guy in the beginning who says he's the hero of the new world, he shoots a guy and he falls into a Christmas display in the store.
Oh, okay.
It's like Christmas time.
Honestly, I haven't seen it in years. I saw it in the theater. I don't think I've seen it since then.
Oh, it holds up well. The dialogue.
I'm sure it does. I have no doubt about that.
And I'm the cure.
Right.
And of course, you have the horrible president. Do you need to use so much violence? And then he takes the guy. Do I need to do? Look at him. What do you say to him? And he shows him the dead body that's being carcassed out of there. The stupid reporter guy. I'm like, I miss 80s movies so much.
I know.
Let's see here, though. So let's see. Friday.
Yeah, that's the next link I'm dropping. That is the Friday Night Last Call Hurricane Ian debriefing with aged boomer and meteorologist Katie Nicolau.
We're going on an hour earlier.
It will be a special time, an hour early, because
need the scientists. Yes.
Well, meteorologist Katie has to get up at dark early to do the weather, so
she's doing us a big favor by coming onto the stream. Check it out. She's
absolutely she is Emmy Award winning meteorologist Katie Nicolau, 3-time Emmy Award winning Katie Nicolau. So
we'll talk about hurricanes, and I will relate my personal experience being stuck in this Hurricane Ian. And Troy will tell me
you fought off alligators to defend a little old lady, as I understand.
I kicked the bobcat and the Jimmy.
And you held back the bobcat and the Jimmy.
Don't forget the orphans and kittens.
The orphans and kittens. You had to hold back the floodwaters so that people could get into the shelter.
Yes.
Just in time, And you're like, one more, and they had and little.
They had a close head, and I started falling.
Muffy said, "No, Kitty's gonna drown. I got your cat. Don't worry."
Okay, I was
scratched out your eye, so now you have to wear an eye patch.
It should have been me, and I could have been crying.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh my God.
Cobra is fun for what it is. It's an A+ movie. You know what Cobra was originally supposed to be? Stallone's version of Beverly Hills Cop.
I could see that. I can kind of see that. Yeah.
But we'll be doing Friday night. Will be an interesting stream. We'll see, and maybe you'll tell me a little bit of what you saw on the outside media too. Didn't you say you? Yeah,
I'll do that too. Or what I didn't see. That's probably the more important thing. It was not covered the way what's it called? Katrina was covered. I mean, it was a very, very different kind of thing. And if you want a little, I did do a little promo video for the upcoming stream. I just dropped that too. If you want to go check it out. But so something to look forward to. Yeah.
Cool beans. So y'all have a good week. Oh, what are you doing? So what are you doing Saturday? Excuse me, Saturday.
Oh, right. That brings us around to Saturday. Saturday we will be doing a rewatch over on Netters Network, celebrating her birthday with a kind of birthday themed film, Liar Liar with Jim Carrey. The whole premise of the film is a birthday wish by his son. So that's what we'll be watching over on Netters Network.
There's Jennifer Tilly in it too. I remember that.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does. And the truth shall set you free. Oh gosh, yeah, that's
Jim Carrey is still funny. I mean, if you want to see, I know if you see the Sonic the Hedgehog movies, he's bringing back his zany performances. He's the villain, Dr. Robotnik, in those. The mad scientist.
Yep.
You should anyway. He's still got it. So. All right, y'all have a good rest of your week, and I will see you next time, or see me during the week on First on Magic channel.
Sounds good. Take care, everyone.
Spectacular Spider-Man, spectacular.